Welcome, everybody, to our board meeting of September the 8th. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. I would like to ask Supervisor Munzer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could have a motion to acknowledge certificate of posting.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this is our next agenda item, is public comment. If anybody from the audience would like to address the board on items that are not on the agenda, you're welcome to do so at this time. Clerk of the board, do we have any?
Yeah, Madam Chair, we have Mary Schneider.
Okay, Mary, please come up. Thank you.
Mary Schneider, Vice President, Friends of the Library. I'm here to say that I had read Sam Farr's town hall remarks on specifically with regard to the county's record on grant writing. And I combined these in my head with some earlier an earlier remark that I had heard at the Chamber of Commerce Forum that the county is not bondable for state grants. And so the Friends of the Library decided that one thing that we have to do is to start a library future fund with the Community Foundation, which we did. We started it with $3, but we hope to grow. And we would like to help the county to be ready should any opportunities be around that we could seize upon to improve and enhance our current library facilities, which were created in 1960 and patched together ever since, particularly in regard to the growing population of the county. Thank you.
Mary, thank you so much. We don't normally respond on public comments, but I want you to know that we as a board appreciate the work that you do for the library, and it is always for us in the forefront of thinking of what we can do in the future. So thank you. Okay, any other cards? Okay, anyone else from the public that would like to come up to address the board? Okay, we'll move on to department head announcements. CAO Espinosa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'd like to invite our RMA Director, Brent Barnes. Brent Barnes has a comment. And
I know he's in the house, so we'll wait for him. Or we can skip over. Are there any other?
No other announcements, but in the light of waiting for a few minutes, I'll go ahead and mention this to the board. I received an email the other day regarding our county and the ranking of our counties. There was a poll that was done, I think, from the Washington Post, and did rankings of all counties within the nation. We were ranked, I believe, off the top of my head, 98 out of 3,111 counties in the nation. So we're ranked about the 100 area within our county, or within the nation. And that was in regards to location, weather. So basically, very nice place to live. And along the coastline, we were ranked pretty high. I'll get that exact number for you at a later time. But I was just mentioning that since it was kind of an interesting topic that we're ranked pretty high, or pretty well.
That's really nice.
A place
and
to
we sort of
live.
Knew that already.
We knew that. That's why I think we're here.
But thank you for sharing that. And if you can bring back the numbers
I'll bring
where
back
we
those
are,
numbers,
that would be great.
Thought I'd do that and
Okay,
to
Brett, if
patch
you
in
could
some
come
time.
up,
So Brent,
you're on. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Excuse me. The board had asked that I report back on a fiscal neutrality issue. Applicant had requested a refund of all or part of the fees that had been charged for a development project, and you'd ask that I come back to this meeting and give a report. Unfortunately, the applicant had asked at a time after their approvals have been completed and the development process is done. So refunding those particular fees would be a a gift of public funds and would not be possible. However, we thank them very much, I do personally, for sort of nudging me in the right direction. It's an issue that fiscal neutrality is an issue that is very important to the county, and we need to create a policy and process for making sure that development projects pay their own way, but do not pay more than their own way. So what I'm going to be doing between now and the middle of October is preparing for you a process and policy statement and goals particular to this fiscal neutrality issue, and then creating a draft process for you to look at and adopt so that we can advise developers as they come in about how to balance the books, so to speak, by preparing a development pro forma that they can submit to us and we can review, that will establish a fee level, and also creating a schedule, a process, so they know where in the development timeline they need to do this work in order to get into the conversation. It will be ultimately a part of the entire development review process, along with environmental documents, use permits, subdivisions, building permits, and so on. But we want to make sure that we do this right, because, as I say, it's very critical to the county and to the long-term economic viability of the development process. Questions from the board?
No, just a comment. Did you have a question, Supervisor Patella?
I don't have a question, but,
Okay.
well, I guess I do have a question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and fiscal neutrality is different than impact fees. I want to make sure that we
Yes.
have that distinction to the public, and, hopefully we're be updating our impact fees real soon.
Yep.
And finishing that study so we could start, taking, keeping up with, our costs there as
Yes.
well.
Absolutely.
And the fiscal neutrality, it's, unfortunately, we have to do this, otherwise we're just fall further behind in governmental services, and we have to make sure from our side of the table we get that right. And I certainly sympathize with new residences that have to pay a little bit more, but that's just the way our tax structure is in California.
Right.
So that's kind of the comment I wanted to make sure we
Well,
made.
that's good. So then we're looking at two different, the fiscal neutrality and also the impact fees. And I think one of the things
Very
that was
closely
brought,
related.
yeah, to my attention is that people want to bring their businesses to San Benito County. But they want to be able to show us that by bringing their business, they're going to provide jobs and they're going to provide, tax dollars that would be beneficial to our county. And so
Absolutely.
maybe looking at impact fees would also be a way
Yes. They're
to
very-
attract industry.
Very
Yeah.
closely related
Very
and a part
closely
of the
related.
economic
Thank you so
development
much for saying that,
formula.
because that is true. And so looking at what we have in place in the way of ordinances to see if we can make some changes to attract more industry and jobs in the county.
Right. If I do, I have one other question.
Yes, sir.
And now this is all ringing a bell to me. The tax base that's created by, businesses and residential development are two different types of
Very different.
animals together. But with businesses, for incentives to bring, attract industry here, there's really no way to kind of look at that, I guess, the fiscal neutrality question. Is that what we're talking about, or are we talking about residential fiscal neutrality?
I think we're talking about both, but I think that you're right. There are very clearly differences. From my experience, residential growth ultimately is a cost in services over the lifetime of the development project. There are a lot more opportunities for commercial and industrial and other kinds of projects to pay their own way and to even bring huge amounts of benefit in terms of both direct fees and in growth potential to the county. So the formula is a little more complex there, and we need to balance between the two.
Yeah, because with businesses, they buy equipment,
Right.
some of it, and a lot of it's unsecured. taxes. And, you know, maybe that should be offsetting the fiscal neutrality special tax.
Sure.
And I don't know if we're taking that into account.
Yeah, and I think that's what Brent means, is that he wants to take a really close look at it and bring back something that encompasses all of that,
All the
those
factors, right,
thoughts.
right.
And other counties are doing it, so let's see what we can do to use some of that, some of those ideas.
Absolutely.
Within the county.
Our situation is unique, and we'll tailor the experience elsewhere, but I want to look at all those factors and make sure we balance correctly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brent, I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Okay?
Thank you.
Appreciate. Anything else, CAO Espinosa?
No, but let me just answer that question for you real quick here. It was with regards to scenery. Every county in America ranked by scenery and climate, and our county was ranked 98 out of 3,111 counties.
Not bad.
Yeah, not
Thank
bad.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
no
that.
problem. That's all the announcements we have.
Very good. We'll move on to board announcements. Supervisor Rivas. Okay, Supervisor Munzer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I have two announcements. The Monterey Bay Unified Air Pollution Control District at its August Board of Director meetings announced their recommendations for this year's AB 2766 grants. San Benito County is eligible for $83,356 of the total grant fund of just a little over $1 million. And the Air District staff will recommend two projects for San Benito County. The first one is for some new transportation vans for the San Benito High School District to the amount of $56,736. And the second recommended project is for an electric vehicle voucher for the city of Hollister. And the voucher will be worth approximately $26,000. And the full board of the district will be voting on staff recommendations for the entire district during its September meeting. I do not believe, I'm not sure if we submitted any grant requests, and I know COG did not submit any either. So these two projects were the ones that the staff of the Air District is recommending to the full board. The second thing I wanted to report on, I was invited down to the Pinnacles National Park to attend a Pinnacles Gateway Partnership Workshop. There were representatives from the King City, Soledad, San Juan Bautista. Mary Paxton was down there from the city of Hollister, and a representative from the Simone Salinas office were all in attendance. We heard a presentation from two gentlemen from the Yosemite Gateway Partnership. They gave a presentation on how their organization got started and how it is continuing and how the communities around Yosemite are working together to promote the park. And I was pleased to see representatives on both sides of the hill attending this meeting. It was a well-attended meeting and a lot of good information.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Supervisor
Thank you.
Munzer. Okay, anything else?
No, that is it. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Batella?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm surprised you didn't mention San Justo Reservoir.
I left that to you.
Well, Supervisor Munzer and I attended a meeting with a number of our staff people, the RMA director, Sarah, and the sheriff was out there and met with the Bureau of Reclamation people, a number of them, Fish and Game as well, and the Water District. And I wish I had a little bit more optimistic news that, you know, that progress is being made and that we could all hope that the reservoir would be open to the public sometime soon. I'm afraid I can't report that. There still needs to be work to be done with the environmental studies as far as treatment of the reservoir to eradicate the zebra mussels, which is the only location that they exist probably west of Texas. And the risk of contaminating other water bodies is something that the Fish and Game and the Bureau really do not want to take on, and that's why it remains closed to the public. The county, for its part, has certainly left open any way that we could assist to get that pest eradicated and hopefully get the reservoir open to the public again at some future date. It's a take time, it's a take money, and you know, everybody that was at the meeting showed a willingness to work together to accomplish that goal, and we're continuing to do so. I guess in going forward in the future, look for funds that will help the Bureau and the Water District to eradicate the zebra mussels. I don't know if I've left anything out. Maybe Supervisor Munzer or Sarah could help me with that, but that's my summary of it.
You know, Madam Chair, I will comment. They answered a couple questions for me that I've always had. One of which was how did the mussels get there in the first place? And I don't remember if it was the state representative or the federal representative, but they said it was probably from live bait that was shipped from either the Midwest, from where the live bait was taken from an affected water source. The water was there with the live bait. It was shipped out here and then used in the reservoir, and that's how it got infected. Nobody knows whether that was the way it happened, but it actually made the most sense, because I've heard, you know, somebody's boat, they moved from back east with their boat and then put their boat into the waters of San Justo, and that never really made that much sense, because the organism would have died in the time the boat got shipped out here or got moved out here. So that kind of made the most sense. And I also asked about why aren't our other reservoirs affected by our local bird populations, the ducks and geese that fly between the different water sources. And they had a fairly good answer for why that's not happening, in that the organisms live below the live in a depth where the birds' feet don't reach to.
Oh,
And so that kind of made sense about that too. So they did have answers for some of the questions that I had about why it has only stayed in San Justo, hasn't spread to Piscinas Reservoir or even the reservoir behind Teledyne, or I'm sorry, Pacific Science, going back a few years. So they did have some answers. Unfortunately, they didn't have the answer that Supervisor Botello and I were both looking for, in that, yes, we can go forward and we can open it up.
yeah.
They just have too many concerns about the infestation spreading to other water systems in our state, and they don't want to take the responsibility of it.
Understandable, so. Sarah, did you want to add something to that, or?
Yes, I do, actually. I appreciate both supervisors being able to be there. And of course, it was amazing just to be able to meet faces, which I think the communication aspect of going together was a huge benefit for us. Reed Sanders was also there, so hopefully we can still assist in the funding level of arguing our point. At a staff level, I think we helped them realize that out of our very small county park network that's actually county operated, was a third. We only really have the other two. And so it is a huge piece of that network and a critical aspect. So I think that they were happy to learn more, understanding staff changes. I don't think they didn't have a picture to what they were reading all the time, so I think that really helped. But it will be absolutely the environmental aspect. We're looking at 2 to 3 years of just monitoring after eradication, the potash is applied. So it's just important to understand the science and the caution and concerns that they have, but it was great to meet everybody that day.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for that information, Supervisor Botello and Supervisor Munzer. Supervisor De La Cruz?
Yes, madam. I'd just like to add a question and not violate the Brown Act. Why can't it just be like a like a business right there on Houston where people can go fishing and rent those equipment that already been contaminated and don't allow them to use those fishing equipment in any other lake. I believe there's some small minor details that can happen.
And what we can do is we can request, because it sounds
Yeah,
like there's
yeah.
still a lot to learn from this, and instead of getting into a conversation
Yeah,
and
yeah.
violating the Brown Act,
Perfect.
is that perhaps we can have another presentation? We had one a couple years ago. We're due for another one, and your questions are good ones, but there are answers to that I have heard, and I'd like to be able to,
Yes.
all of you to hear them. So, okay?
Thank you, madam.
All right?
Thank you. And then my other one, this Sunday will be, well, it won't be September 16th, but it'll be September 13th. And traditionally in Mexico, September 16th is actually Mexico's Independence Day. In celebration here in America, we do a parade on Sunday downtown. The church, the Catholic Church, organizes this function, and the public's invited to go to the parade. It starts at 11:30 downtown. And the rest of the board members are invited to attend the parade if they wish to participate.
And that's on Sunday, the 13th?
Yes, madam.
Okay. What time does it start,
It
Supervisor?
starts at 11:30 in the morning, 11:30 in the morning.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, thank you, madam.
Okay. For my announcements, I want to thank the Farm Bureau for their Farm Worker Appreciation Barbecue. Supervisor De La Cruz and I both enjoyed that evening, and it was a wonderful way to show what the appreciation that we have for all the people that provide services to our crops here in San Benito County. And I also attended the fair kickoff dinner. Our fair, October 1st through the 4th, is coming up, so we invite all of you to be a part of that. It's always a wonderful event for our county, and it's been going on for, I couldn't tell you how many years, but it's got to be over 75 years. So anyway, so join us October 1st through the 4th. And we had Congressman Farr here twice in 1 week. He was here for the Business Council. They invited him to speak to the Business Council in regards to the Panoche Valley Solar Farm, other things that are happening in Washington that may affect San Benito County, and economic development. So that was really quite good to get that one-on-one with our congressman. And he also had a town hall meeting here that was very well attended. A lot of questions concerning, what is going on in San Benito County. Some of the things he couldn't answer because really they were more the responsibility of the Board of Supervisors, but he handled them well, and it was good to see him here. And Supervisor Munzer, you were there as well, so it was nice to have you there. I also attended at the Business Council, CSUMB doctor, and I can't remember his name, I apologize. He is working on a grant through his classes that may affect San Benito County in regards to economic development, and he would like to get our support. I told him to please send us information regarding what his intentions are and how it does benefit us, and I would like to recommend that we do some sort of a resolution. If it fits with what we are trying to do with economic development, we certainly want to support his efforts, and that would be a regional grant, application for a regional grant. And the last thing is that I did attend by teleconference the CSAC board meeting that was on Thursday, September the 3rd, and I can tell you that the biggest item on that is transportation. Transportation is on the minds of every county in California. We are 6 out of 10 worst pavement conditions are in California in the entire United States. We are 6 in the top 10 worst pavement conditions. That doesn't say a lot for what our roads are like. Computerized cars, definitely a thing of the future. They already are, and we've said this before, that we've lost a lot of gas tax because of the computerized cars. It's going to be probably, they're thinking that by 2018, and that's only 3 years from now, 85% of the vehicles will not be paying gas tax. 85%. They are working right now, and they say this is a little frightening because a lot of people don't know this, but Google and Tesla are working on vehicles that they are testing right now that are not gas vehicles, that could be out. I think the year that they gave was 2017, I believe. That's in 2 years. And, you know, once you get something like that, it's just like telephones and computers. Once you get something innovative like that, it just expands so quickly in our technology world. So that's even more frightening to know that we may not have gas taxes at all. And they will start their pilot program to test how we can get money for our roads outside of the gas tax that we have. And they are inviting people like us, supervisors, council people, to participate in this pilot program. They will kick it off next year, and they should have it complete by 2017. Driverless cars, they said, are a thing of the future, and they are testing these cars, like I said, as we speak. Less than 8 years from now, you may see all computerized vehicles. And they said it's not if, but when. Maybe longer, but it certainly is in our very, very near future. The only thing that they're worrying about, the other opportunity for collecting monies for roads, is that it may be because of the pilot program where they're gonna try to tax you on how many miles you drive, is the privacy part of it, is that they will always know where you're going, where you're at, and you can do it by phone with your technology that we have, our smartphones. And that's not something that people are very fond of. I know I wouldn't be. And so they're trying to figure out how to get through that part of making sure that they don't violate our privacy. So anyway, it's really a worry for the state of California. We need to do something, and we need to do something now. So I'm really glad that our county is actually trying to be proactive and trying to figure out how we're going to address the issue of our roads. So thank you. All right, the next item, consent agenda items. Anybody on the board that would like to pull?
I'd like to pull number 6, Madam Chair, and recluse myself for number 12, as I have a conflict of interest. A family does business with Granite Rock.
Okay, so you will recuse yourself from item number 12, and you will pull item number 6?
Right.
Okay, any others that, from the board?
Madam Chair, I'd like to pull number 18.
Number 18,
A short comment.
okay. Any others? Okay, anybody from the public that would like to pull any of the consent items? Okay, so at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve items excluding, the consent items excluding number 6 and excluding number 18, I believe. Yes. So is there a motion? And Supervisor Batella, you will recuse yourself. You know, I better pull item 12 so that you can do that
Yeah,
publicly.
I think that'd be
Okay,
appropriate.
we're also pulling item number 12 so that Supervisor Batella can recuse himself.
Madam Chair, motion to approve amended agenda items excluding 6, 12, and 18.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll start off with item number 6. Supervisor Batella.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Writing Sword, I was reading this last night, and it seemed like it's a lot of money to do. I guess these are procedures in case we have a pandemic influenza, but the Ebola scope of work is something that I was kind of curious, as that seems to be something that is not very likely in San Diego County.
Right.
I'm not saying that shouldn't be a concern, but if I came back from Africa, someplace that has Ebola, and I suspect I have Ebola, I don't think I would go to Hazel Hawkins.
Okay.
But
All of the items that are in this contract are items that are required either by federal or state regulation. What we did is we looked at this. Mary White is a pharmacist. Pharmacists go for like $85 an hour. She's been doing work for us in a variety of things, and she's kind of been working as part-time and on contract. We met with Human Resources and discussed this and felt that it's better just to move it over to a contract. Once the work is done, then we'll again review the contract to see the extent to which we need to continue to have a contract like this, or the scope of the contract moving forward.
So, really, this money is federal money then that can't be used for anything else in public health?
This is money that is restricted to the activities that are in this contract, yes.
Okay, because I would almost guess that, this would be kind of a template type of process or procedure for Ebola treatment or pandemic flu. And I also read in here of changing of our procedures as far as getting medications out from pharmacies. Is there, do we have any process for that at this time?
To be honest with you, I couldn't comment on that kind of detail. However, if there are current processes, we need to look at them and update them.
Okay. It's just seems like a lot of money for this.
Well, we will look at the work this year. We'll look at the contract. Staff has put together a scope of work that it looks reasonable to me, and it kind of gets us out of a problem of having somebody who's working part-time for us and working on a contract, so we moved everything to a contract here.
Okay. All right, because the way I see this, this is kind of a one-time expense to have this in place.
I think that once we get through this process, I think that it may not be as detailed and as extensive as it is for this year.
Okay.
And it's a not to exceed, right, Jim?
That's correct.
Okay, and I know that there are other, especially I think it was in Texas, where they had to react to a situation. Would we be able to borrow from other areas so that we don't have to reinvent?
We always borrow from other areas.
Good.
Yes.
Good. I recommend it.
Yes.
And because I know that there's a lot of detail that goes into this
Yeah.
sort of thing, and it's extensive, right?
Yeah.
So thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Right at
That's
the
it.
top.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
All right, anybody from the public, please come up.
Madam Chair, thank you. I just want to respond to Mr. Supervisor Botello's flippant remark. Hazel Hawkins does have a protocol for suspected Ebola. Isolation, quarantine, a whole 9 yards. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public on this item? Okay, I'll bring it back for a decision.
I'll make a motion per staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair?
Well, what I'll do is I'd like to open it up to the public, just in case before. So there's already a motion and a second, but I'd like to invite the public if you would like to address the board on this item. Okay, I'll bring it back. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Supervisor Munzer, if you could get Supervisor Botello back here. Thank you. Or He can come back. We are done.
We're done.
I don't think he even got out of the room before we hit.
I don't know, I'm not sure he was out of the room, but it doesn't matter, there was no discussion, so, okay, thank you. Supervisor De La Cruz on item number 18.
Yes, Judy, will you come up to the podium, please? I just want to give two brief comments. The first one, Judy, I just want to say you've done a great job under this program,
Thank you.
and you totally have my support on this grant. And two, which it's more important to me, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's all, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, anybody from the public that would like to address the board on this item? Item number 18 on the consent? Okay, I'll bring it back. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Okay, so that takes care of our consent agenda items, so we'll move on to item number 19, public hearing, and I'll turn that over to Brent. Oh, to Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Good morning.
Morning.
The item today is the creation process for a community facilities district for the Santana Ranch project. And so there are several things that we are asking the board to do today. First is to hold the public hearing and looking at establishing the CFD. And in your packet, we have included the fiscal analysis that sets the rate overall as well as this year's rate. We are proposing a $600 rate for the CFD. The second thing we're asking the board to do is to call the special election, and this election will be for the 6 property owners that control the land at the Santana Ranch development. I asked the city clerk to also distribute to your board copies of the ballots. So one of the things that is allowed with the creation of CFDs is for the property owners, those that are eligible to vote, to also waive the normal processes for elections of publishing in the newspaper and rebuttals and all that. That's part of the advantage of doing this early on in the process. The property owner's representative, Mr. Curtis, has provided staff the copies of the 6 ballots, and so we can go through and actually, assuming the board passes today, the action to call the special election, I would ask that the board then allow the election staff to go through and open the ballots and report on the results of the ballots. I think, as you saw in the copies attached to you today, is that all 6 property owners do, in fact, support the CFD, which we expected to occur. All 6 have signed the waivers calling for the elections rule, which would allow the results to be reported today. The one last thing I will note is that with the when the board set the hearings for today to start this process, staff had put 2 dates in that staff report, and there was a little bit of confusion when we acted on this back in July, I think it was, of whether it was September 1st or September 8th. So we went through and also have acknowledgments from the property owners about the September 8th date versus September 1st. We want to make sure that everybody's up front of what's going on and how the processes work. There was not a published date that was required to be in the newspaper. Again, the CFD process is a little bit different. So what we are asking the board today to do, just be clear about that, is adopt the resolution to establish the CFD and authorize the levies, to go through, adopt a resolution to call for the special election. And then, so I would say, let's open the public hearing, see if there's any comment, and then come back and take the board actions, and assuming those pass, then we'll go through and deal with ballots.
Okay, very good, thank you, Joe. You have a question? Yes. Joe, before the public hearing, we have a question.
Yes.
Supervisor Munson.
Sorry.
So, Joe, is the action that we are taking today, does that place the whole project into the CFD?
Correct.
So we're
Is-
not coming back?
So the action, there's a map included in the packet that shows the entire boundary of Santana Ranch. That would become CFD 2015-01. And so all those properties, and so the 6 property owners that are in the staff report are the people that control all of that property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Joe. Okay, at this time, I would like to open the public hearing. Anybody from the public that would like to address the board on this item? Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just an observation. Santana Ranch is going to have hundreds of houses, hundreds of property owners. So we're going to have this election of property owners that consists of 6 people who want to sell all of these lots and develop it. Again, just an observation. What would happen if these 6 property owners voted no? Would Santana Ranch continue without the special assessment district? That's a revenue stream you're asking them for. They're kind of in a position there, if you don't do this, we'll put some more roadblocks in front of you on your development. Interesting. Just, again, just an observation. You got them. You got them. They got to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. Any other comments from the public? There being none, I will now close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for the 2 resolutions, discussion or adoption.
Madam Chair,
Madam,
I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2015-68,
68, that's the first one.
68, establishing a community facilities district and authorizing the levy of special taxes pursuant to Melrose Community Facility Act of 1982, CDF number 2015-1, Santana Ranch, and 2, adopt Resolution 2015-69, calling the special elections pursuant to the Melrose Community Facilities Act of 1982, CDF number 2015-01, Santana Ranch.
Okay, so your motion is for both of them?
Yes, Madam.
And I will second your motion. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay.
So next, I would ask Angela to be able to come up and present the results of the election, and then we'll go kind of have one more step after that.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In reviewing the 6 property owner ballots that have been submitted and certified, it is unanimous as 100% of a yes vote on the, the CFD, correct? Yes.
Okay, thank you, Angela. So does that now, let me ask you while you're still there, does that now make it an official? What is the next step to make this an official? Well, maybe that question is for Joe. Thank you,
You
Angela.
have to sign a certification for,
Is that what you do? Okay.
Yeah, so at this point, what we would need to do is bring a resolution to the board acknowledging the results. We'll go through and do the certifications. So we would go through and put that on for your next meeting on the 22nd, I think is, 2 weeks. And so that'll show up on that agenda for closing this out, and then we start charging assessments.
Okay, I was going to say the assessments will start for the first
They will
tax bill.
start as, with the next cycle of tax bills as homes start to come up out of the ground.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you. We'll move on to our regular agenda, and we'll start with item number 20, CAO Espinosa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, regarding this item was actually brought to your board August 11th at our board retreat. Your board may recall discussing economic development. And prior to that, we met in June, I believe it was 16th this year, during our Board of Supervisor budget hearings. And and discussed an amount of money that would be allocating towards economic development. And that was $25,000 is what we allocated. And today, we're going to have a few presentations from San Benito County Chamber of Commerce, San Benito County Economic Development Corporation, Monterey Bay Economic Partnership, as well as Monterey County Business Council, to give a presentation to your board of what they'd be able to do for our county with regards to economic development. I've also met with our new RMA director, Brent Barnes, over the last few weeks, and we've been discussing economic development and where that should lie within our county to make sure we had county oversight over that. So I've invited him. He'll be coming up and giving a small presentation as well to your board and explain to you and the public how that intertwines within his office. So I think it'll be a good presentation here. And we're going to be encouraging the board to have that actually kind of lie with RMA and make sure we have ownership over economic development within our county. With that to be said, I'd like to go ahead and pass this on to Melinda. Melinda can add a few more words, and then we'll have our presenters come up. Melinda?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Again, per your direction from the last board meeting, you wish to hear all of the organizations together so that you could, they would all be fresh in your mind. So what in the meantime, we also had Monterey County Business Council approach us with a program that they feel benefits our county also. So I'd like to ask Mr. Turlington to come up first and give his presentation.
Morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair,
Good morning.
supervisors, staff, and the public. My name is Brian Turlington. I'm the Executive Director of the Monterey County Business Council. And yes, we, as the Monterey County Business Council, our primary efforts are focused on Monterey County, but you should be aware that we work quite regionally. We are also the host organization for the Central Coast Career Readiness Consortium, which works on workforce development issues, and I've actually been having talks with Christina Chavez-Wyatt of the San Benito County Business Council about introducing our Work Keys training program into the County of San Benito. I won't belabor that point right now, but I will try to appear before you in the near future. The Monterey County Business Council and the San Benito County Business Council, we have reciprocal memberships. I've attended several of the recent San Benito County Business Council meetings, and in fact, I heard Madam Chair mention earlier that you had a presentation by Professor Brad Barbeau from CSUMB. That's the Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurial Development. That program, the IIED, was actually created by an EDA grant that was entered into by the Monterey County Business Council with CSUMB several years ago, and up until the beginning of August, our offices were actually on the campus of CSUMB and co-housed with IIED. CSUMB is growing quite rapidly, becoming a real regional player. With that, they've moved into their new business information technology building. We have moved off to the InBest Center, where we actually are located right next door to the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. And Madam Chair, as you well know, because you took place in meetings for several years about a regional branding for the Tri-County area, the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership was really hatched through the Business Council. It's its own separate standalone entity, 501c3. We certainly support all their efforts and collaborate with them. We are also, the Monterey County Business Council, the logistical and administrative support for the Central Coast Broadband Consortium, which is to bring broadband to the Tri-County region. The reason I mention that, you were talking about the road work and how bad the pavement is here. One of the things that we will be back before your board to encourage is an adoption of a dig once policy, which is when you dig up the roadbed, put the conduit in, have it there, be ready to put in the fiber. The reason I mention that is we've been told by Granite Rock, which is a member of the Monterey County Business Council, that when you dig up the roadbed and repave, you decrease the lifespan by about 40%. So it's a fiscal responsibility thing. All that said, I'm not here to talk about all those other programs, but I am here to talk about the Monterey Bay Procurement Technical Assistance Center. That's the PTAC. What the PTAC does, and I'm going to introduce you to our new program manager, Ms. Terry Williams, to tell you about it, but essentially we help businesses get certified and registered so they can go after state, federal and local contracts. And San Benito County is served by our PTAC. We want to do more in San Benito County, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to our program manager, Ms. Terry Williams.
Good morning, Terry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have one there for you as well. This is my first time in Hollister, and I find your community delightful.
Thank you.
It is just lovely, and hearing that you're that high on the list does not surprise me. I'm most recently from Seattle, Washington, and I'm so happy to be here. As Brian told you, we are a regional procurement assistance program. Previously, the Monterey Bay PTAC has served many counties in the state, and just recently what we've done is we've asked Defense Logistics if we can concentrate our efforts more in Central California. And that will allow us to help your county as well as many of the Central California counties at a much greater level because we will not have such the distance to travel. Our mission, and I have it in front of you, is to help business contract with the government. It's become extremely convoluted and very difficult. I see some heads, yes, it has. It's not just California, it's all over. And so I have been, at the age of 24, I was a federal contractor, which is, I'd love to tell you I knew what I was doing, but I accidentally got into it and I just went from there. But that's what we intend to do, is we intend to help your businesses. If you'll notice on, I think it's the fourth page, excuse me, I've put in yellow the highlighted area where we're now going to be serving, and San Benito is going to be one of our concentration areas. I was able to call your business licensing division. You have a number of contractors in your area, and what we would like to do is help them find additional contracts or better contracts on a per dollar basis. The next page is just how we do that. We identify contract bid opportunities. It's very free for them to sign up with us and to get our bid matching services. We help them with all of their registrations. We help them particularly with the California multiple award schedules and also with the federal government schedules. And SAM is not the easiest to navigate, and that is the system of award management. So we help many of our clients with that as well. And so I'm here telling you a little bit about what we do, but I always ask this, whether I'm at the city or the county level, and what would Hollister find is the most valuable service that we could offer, and how can we do that? And so if you have some ideas for me, I'm anxious to hear them.
Well, I was able to enjoy the presentation that was given at the Business Council, and it is amazing how you already have businesses from this county that are reaching out to you and have really taken advantage of that, of the information you have and the help, the assistance. And it's my understanding that our businesses don't have to pay for that service.
It's completely free.
You pay for it, you know, the Business Council pays for it, but our businesses actually get this opportunity for assistance absolutely free.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me that's a key thing for
it is a big key. They often will ask me, well, how much for this? And I'll always say, no, that's what I'm paid for.
Well, especially since they may just be starting up, or that's the reason why they're reaching out is because they want to expand their businesses. So money is an issue.
Absolutely.
So this is a great opportunity for them to get firsthand help, information, assistance, and be able to know how to secure
Yes.
funding. So.
I'm having some new postcards made up, and in talking to your business division, I'll make sure that they get lots of them, and if you will pass the word out that we're here and we're here to help, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions, any other questions before? Yeah, Supervisor Botello?
Yeah, I think that's a great program, and on the PTAC DLA assigned counties, is there, of these smaller counties, are they working directly with the Monterey Business Council as far as funding this program?
If they're not at this time, and I've only been here a month, I'm hoping that they will join us because, as you well know, and thank you for bringing this up, the federal dollars will only go so far. They want to know that the local communities, cities, and counties are invested. And therefore, that's the match that makes the program as robust as it can be. And so it's one of the things that Brian and I will both be working on. Did you want to address
Yes,
that?
I'm sorry. If I may, yes, Supervisor. Previously, in our prior contract, we had 22 assigned counties through our contract with the DLA, and we serviced another 14 to 15, depending on inquiries, 36 counties across the state. What we have been doing is we've been reaching out to the counties that were assigned and asking them to join. Yes, this is a free service for San Benito County businesses. It is not a free service for the Monterey County Business Council. That's why we're coming to you and to all the other counties we service to ask them to contribute to help us get the matching funds we need to keep this program going. And just to let you know, this really came out of efforts from Congressman Sam Farr's office asking someone to open one in the area. Since September of 2012, we've been able to help clients throughout the state of California get over $130 million worth of contract awards. We're very proud of that, and we want to see it going. And San Benito County, quite honestly, has been underrepresented in this program, and we want to rectify that.
Yeah, and, you know, one of the things that over the years I've heard as concerns from the private sector is, you know, how do we get some of these government bids? And so having a program in place makes all the sense in the world to me. But I just wonder if we're the most, you know, what I'm wrestling with, we don't have that much money
Sure.
we're talking about, or whether or not we're the right conduit to be a participant in this. Would it be a better conduit through the our own business council or through the EDC to work with the Monterey Business Council to, you know, participate in this program? Because I do believe it is worthwhile.
Right. I think my response to that is I'm obviously here with hat in hand asking for money, and I appreciate that, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But I think at the county level is the most effective way to get it out, because one of the things we'll be asking is the county, when they're putting things out for requests for proposals, is to do it. And actually, when I mentioned that, I mean, we're already working with the San Benito County Business Council. As I mentioned, we have a reciprocal membership. I've presented before them on this, and I showed and spoke last time when Congressman Farr was here on that. One of the things that you'll find from the PTAC, and I think it's important to understand, is, yes, I'm still asking for your money, but when you put out a bid, you might see the same cast of characters come to the table each time. It's like the 3 or 4. What we've found over at Monterey Regional Airport, when bids went out through the PTAC and us getting the word out there, all of a sudden there are 10 or 12 contractors at the table. Well, what does that do? It drives down the price, so it ends up saving the public fisc.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and let's see, who is it? There you are. I couldn't see you. I thought, I know she's here somewhere.
So we've also invited the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership to come and make their presentation today also.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and supervisors and staff and the public. My name is Kate Roberts, and I am new to the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership, day 5 on the job as president. And so I wanted to thank you for giving us time on your agenda to speak about the work that we're doing in this organization. You do have a presentation, I believe, in front of you that has some few slides in it that I'll be going through. And I just wanted to start by saying that we are a regionally based organization, to build on some of the comments that have been spoken about already this morning, and looking holistically at the region versus at a county by county basis. So I think that's one thing that we are really differentiating the work that we're doing in the region. And really it's all about collaborating with regional leaders and impacting the economy through that. Our mission, as you can see on the first slide there, is to create a thriving region that has quality jobs, education, and healthcare, and a really a high-level functioning for all residents of the region. And we believe this is is doable by not just looking at growing just the jobs and taking that very myopic look, but it's looking at all the things that are important in order to bolster the economy and create economic vitality. So as you'll see on the next page, we really are all about bringing the counties together, Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Benito County, and looking at how on a nonprofit, corporate and governmental basis, bringing the three sectors together too in the region to solve the problems that affect all of us. Excuse me. So we are a nonprofit, membership-based organization. So what we do is we look at the various players in the sectors, whether they be a corporation, a public entity, or a nonprofit organization, and look to build our membership in a diverse way with all three sectors. You can see who our board is on the next slide there. We've been able to assemble quite a stellar board, as you can tell. We've a fairly new organization. We've only had 2 board meetings under our belt, but I believe the work that's been done to date to bring together representation from all the counties, from all the sectors, and that's really reflected well in the board. I just might make note that Renee Mendez, the city manager of Gonzales, representing your fine county, is part of our board and is actually our co-chair. And Brad Van Dam from Marriage Chocolates, who also obviously is a business owner here in the county. So we really strive to have diverse representation from all sectors, as you can tell, from the education institutions, from the corporations, and really a lot of the work and recruitment of this board has been done through our other co-chair, Bud Colligan, who you may have met, who is founder and CEO of Southwell Ventures and also involved in quite a few ventures throughout the region. The membership on the next slide just shows again who all has already signed up to be members with the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. Again, we're very proud that we have cities, educational institutions, a lot of the large corporations throughout the county, hospitals, very good listing there for a very new organization. And also we have several members that we're working diligently to bring into the fold too that aren't represented there. So really what the question, I think if I were in your chair, I'd be asking, great, now, so what's that all mean for us, for our county, and what can you do for us? And again, the issues that affect all of our constituents throughout the region, these are not unique problems, and the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership really believes that we can help foster collaboration on a regional basis by bringing best practices together. Madam Chair, you mentioned earlier about not recreating the wheel on certain instances, and I think there could be a lot more collaboration done on a regional level that we could do to help alleviate some of those issues. And we're also looking at, to your comment on transportation, really what will it take to get this entire region ahead of that curve and proactively planning around transportation issues. Again, digging once, as Brian mentioned, it's a huge issue for getting broadband connectivity to make the region more competitive, to bring jobs and companies to the region. And these are the types of issues that the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership is dealing with. Education is obviously a big part of it too. And if you go to the next slide that talks about activities that create value, you'll see that there's 2 initiatives that have been chosen by the board to focus on for this first part of our year here, the first 2015 and part of 2016, and that is building tech ecosystems and what are all the different components that contribute to having a healthy tech ecosystem, and workforce development, which is obviously a big part of feeding into the education system, and how do we make sure that the jobs that we have, that the education that we're providing, that there's a match there. So that's a big focus for us this year. We mentioned already the broadband, education advocacy, helping folks understand what's available where. We have a lot of data that's available on our website. That's one thing that we want to be is be known as a data source for members of the region. So there's a lot of great regional data by industry and by topic that you're able to find on our website. We're also looking at connecting regional leaders, leveraging best practice, looking at regional grants that are available, things like that, to make sure that we can connect the dots across the region. We talked about advocating for job creation, new initiatives. For instance, the Opportunity Fund is a micro loan for small businesses that is already starting up in Santa Cruz County. We'd love to see that be available in San Benito County. And just deepening awareness of something that Brian already mentioned, the National Career Readiness Certificate. We're working closely with Monterey Council to bring that to fruition. The big idea of convening people, too, is a big area that we are really focusing on. The idea of bringing people together, because we believe a lot of magic happens when you get people talking. The first event that we held was earlier this year in late January, which was the Regional Economic Summit, where we had several speakers talk specifically about the economic vitality of the region and how to improve that. What we're going to be having on November 4th this year is our first State of the Region event, which will be held at Chaminade in Santa Cruz on November 4th. And that is going to be more on all the topics that relate to building up and buttressing the economic vitality of the region. We'll have a panel on housing, we'll have a panel on public safety, we'll have a panel on infrastructure, all the things that need to be in place to contribute to have economic vitality. So we hope you'll mark that down on your calendar and plan to attend that event. The membership pricing that we have set is a sliding scale. It's based on the population of the city and on the number of employees of a corporation. And we have a flat fee for the 3 counties of $10,000. Santa Cruz and Monterey have already participated at that level, so we're very hopeful that San Benito County will also participate at the $10,000 level, because that is the amount we've set for a county participation. And again, a sliding scale based on cities and employees, either 5 or 10,000, depending on the number involved there. So we just believe that no matter what the size of your organization, there is a place at the table. We look forward to encouraging many more members to join the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership from San Benito County, and really look forward to continuing the collaboration, and of course, me being brand new on the job, getting to know you all and working together to create a more vibrant county for you.
Thank you. Any questions? I have a question. How will you assess the benefit that San Benito County is getting in the way of data, contacts, maybe visits to this county, bringing people out here to see our area? Do you have something already in place where you have?
Well, yeah, what we would do is really be looking to our members to understand what their needs are and what the benefits are that we can bring to them, aligned to the 2 initiatives that we have thus far identified. So as we get more members from San Benito County, I would really want to make sure that we have representation in our membership from this county. Personally, being from Santa Cruz, where I live now, I really want to make sure that I get to know Part South down here much better. So I'll be in the region twice a week, getting to know issues that are affecting people in this region and what we really need to do to be able to add value.
So if we choose to participate a year from now, you can stand there and say, this is what we did.
Yes.
This is where we went. This is who we brought. You'd be able to give us all that information.
Absolutely, yes. We're a very data-driven organization. I spent over 25 years in high tech and looking at very, measurable results and what the impacts have been. So we'll be tracking all of those things and making sure that we bring those results to you.
Yeah, the amount that was given here in some of the options was only $5,000 for participation.
That's what I was going to ask, Madam Chair, if I may. Melinda, can you please pass out the revised version of that? There was some discrepancies when we were creating the staff report with the numbers. So these are the accurate numbers here.
Good.
Just want to make sure the board's aware of that.
Madam Chair, while we're glancing at that, I have a question as well. So probably at this moment, you don't have a very good idea what some of the major impediments that San Benito County has in competing for economic viability and job creation, relatively speaking, within the region with Santa Cruz County and Monterey County. And if we came to the table, I don't know, with the board, very heavily, represented with Monterey County and a little bit more in Santa Cruz County. We have one person, I think, with a business here. How does that balance?
Well, did have the pleasure of meeting Renee from the city of Gonzales, so he is our co-chair, and getting to know more about the issues that affect San Benito County. And I have to say that there are very ubiquitous issues that a lot of the same things are affecting us all. So, excuse me, getting over tickle.
Now, you mentioned the city of Gonzales. That's not in our county. Are you thinking that it's in our county? Or?
No, just as a point of reference to that, it's in, closer to you than.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that there was clarification.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think there are some things, that, especially when you're looking at issues like the broadband implementation, that could definitely benefit and make your region and your county more competitive, make us all more competitive. So that would be one example.
So it was an example only. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Supervisor Menzer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When you first started your presentation, I did not catch your title.
I'm president of the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership.
Okay, and you've been on the job?
5 days.
Right, okay. I just want to make sure. And how long has the organization been in existence?
Well, we've had 2 board meetings. It's been about a year that we have been in existence. It was started, Brian made mention to it, that we have a lot of our roots thanks to that fine organization with Marianne Leffel and Brian's fine work in the Monterey Bay Business Council. And then we branched off and were formed just about a year ago.
So how often does the board meet?
We meet every quarter. Our board meets every quarter. But there was some startup time that we had that we actually hadn't met, so that clarifies that.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. And Melinda?
Next, we'd like to invite the San Benito County Chamber of Commerce, Julie Vieira, to give her presentation.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Here we are again. Okay, I think that most of you have the Phase 2 of the tourism proposal that I presented back in May. It would have been that bright orange or red copy that I gave you all. That was a condensed version of like a 30-plus page proposal of our Phase 2 tourism within the county that Redbeard had put together. Then 2 weeks ago, when I presented the proposal, it was a condensed version of that 30-page. It also had the budget with it. And so today I'm presenting the same budget with a couple of small changes on the last page. So I can go over them each and every page if you want me to, but I know that we have done this a couple of times already. So I do want to point out on the back page, since we last spoke, we are contributing funds to the San Juan Visitor Center, and we're financially supporting them. We're also giving them materials from the chamber as far as the visitors guides and as far as information on local businesses for them to put in their visitor center. I believe they're open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 12 to 4. So that is something that is added. Whoa. On the last page, we do have a shortfall in the budget, and the way that we're asking for the $20,000 from the county, which makes up pretty much the balance. $50,000 came from the city, $2,500 came from the city of San Juan Bautista, and $20,000 from the county. We will have about a $7,000 shortfall if we stick to exactly what this proposal has in it. Obviously, if we don't get the county's funds, we will have to cut certain aspects of the tourism and the economic development as far as the job fair and the different things that we have on the budget for the next year. So the shortfall we hope to make up in sponsorships incorporations coming in, and, like I said, if we have to, we'll have to cut certain programs. But we think this is a pretty well-rounded program. We've been working with Gilroy the last couple of weeks to get a Super Bowl program put together. So that's something that isn't on this because it's not finalized yet, so I did not want to add that to the list. But does anybody have any questions? I know we've kind of gone over this. You received the visitor bags and all the information the last couple times.
Julie, did we also get a grant? Did we also get money? Somebody, I don't know if it was you or somebody said that we got like 150,000, 120,000 grant money for
No,
economic development. Maybe they're confusing something.
The chamber has received 50,000 for last year's budget from the city of Hollister. We received another 50,000 this year, so that's 100,000. We've received other grants for other specific programs within the chamber. So they're specified funds from Community Foundation and specified funds from PG&E. But they are not specified for tourism. They're specified for other projects within the chamber.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's what you,
And that may
that's
have
what you
been
heard.
I heard, but I knew that
Right.
there was some dollars out there, but
Yes.
it wasn't for economic development.
It's not for economic development, and it's not for tourism.
Okay.
They were for specific other projects within the chamber.
All right, any other questions of Julie?
Yeah, I guess
Supervisor Botelho?
yeah, I just have to ask, it seems like the budget is heavily relied upon, government monies, the city of Hollister, San Juan, and you're asking for 20,000 from us, and, a lot of it is promotion of the existing businesses that we have now. I would think a large portion of that budget should be made up from businesses that would, benefit from the, advertising in brochures, and they should be paying for that.
Right. And going forward, but we have to show them something, we have to show them something to buy into. We've talked to all of our businesses. We've talked to the vintners. We've talked to the different aspects of our community. They all want to see, something produced. I guess they've been promised other things in the past, that things were going to happen, and nothing did. And so they kind of want to see something before they buy into it. We do have, we have several business owners that are on the tourism committee. And so they're just waiting to see something happen. And I think once we get the website up, the tourism website up, and they have their opportunities to advertise on that, all of that advertisement money is going right back into tourism. So that's how we are going to generate tourism dollars from those members, from our community. They'll advertise on the website. They will be up there. They will be supporting, and these are going to be ways that we're going to be able to fund our tourism efforts going forward. But we have to start somewhere. And I think with all the promises that they've been promised, they just want to see something that they can buy into. So, does that kind of answer your
Well,
question?
it kinda
Why?
answers my question.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get into the business government paying for advertisement for some of our, private sector
Right.
areas that should be doing their own advertising, their own self-promotion, and that's, I'm
And I
pretty
understand
sensitive
that.
about the separation of roles.
Yeah, and I understand that, but we have to start somewhere as far as getting our county out there as a tourism destination. And if our city and our county can give us that little push, then from there, I think the businesses and the other entities within the community will take it from there. I think we just need a little boost. We've accomplished a lot. We got the first funds in February. We've accomplished a lot in, just a very few months, getting websites up and getting content out and getting visitor bags out and getting we've gotten a lot accomplished, and I think the more they see, the more they're going to buy into the aspect of a tourism, and making this a tourism destination.
Thank you, Julie. Any other questions? Okay. Well,
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then Mr. Johnson from the EDC, San Bernardino County EDC, is also here to give a presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board. In your packet, you have a 2-page proposal from the EDC. It's for a total of $5,000. Over the next 12 months, the EDC wants to help continue tell the good story of this county, which is the partnership between business and government in this county. The work that we're going to get done over the next 12 months is, as you know, your general plan that you've recently approved and passed and survived all legal challenges. Congratulations on all that. You elected to carry a financial element in the general plan. And one of those elements of the general plan is to partner with EDC and other groups to do a 5-year strategic plan. We're proposing to do a 1-year start to that 5-year strategic plan. That's why it's only $5,000. And over the next 12 months, we're going to compare our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, our threats to other surrounding counties. So we're really going to position San Benito County as above and beyond the other counties that are around us. So it's a little more focused on making us not just 98, but maybe 17 or something like that in the next couple days or next couple years for business. We will do that, like I said, by comparing it to the other plans in the area. And in the detailed part of that section, we're going to expand the membership of the EDC to include, there's 14 target business groups on there that's listed out there. I won't go through all of them right now. And there's also some governmental organizations out there that we're going to go after. Since we last met, I know Supervisor Rivas and De La Cruz expressed concern that there was some inefficiencies, or there may be some inefficiencies with some of the county funds on the 25 grand for that's getting split up between the chamber, EDC, and other groups. We have since met, the EDC has met with the chamber. We carved out what we thought was our role and our responsibility as EDC to be outward looking to attract new businesses in, and we made sure there was no duplication of efforts on the inward looking stuff the chamber did. So I share your concern for inefficiencies. Granite Rock, I wear a vice president hat, and one of those titles includes efficiency, so that hit a nerve. So Julie and I have met. We've added a board seat for the chamber for one of their board members for the EDC board, and recently we've added the city manager to the EDC board. So the board schedule will be a little more flexible in this next 12-month cycle. It's going to meet quarterly. The executive board is still going to meet monthly. The work product to you for this $5,000 would be a report on that SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, back to this board, and we're planning for at least one other update in the next 12 months. So I want to keep it short and sweet, so I'll entertain your questions or comments.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Supervisor Botello?
As always, it seems like I got a lot of questions today. Reading this, the EDC General Plan Task Force is planned for the expansion of targeting expertise and representation from anticipated stakeholders. Has that already started at all? Has there been any feedback from these organizations and areas that you've listed on here, or is this proposed?
This is proposed. We're really in the infancy stage of this. We didn't want to get too far down the road without having work to do in the partnership for that county. But we've have identified at least 4 members for that group, and we have a name for every 14 of those spots. And I won't go through those names right now for obvious reasons, including that not everybody signed up for that. But we do have a plan to fill those seats. And we have an energetic board. I think I told you who was on the board last time, and if you'd like a refresher on that, I can.
And so some sort of summary report would probably be generated within a year?
Yes.
You would think?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this proposal, it's for $5,000, great value. You get to see me twice. And one will be with a finalized SWOT analysis, and one will be an update throughout that 12-month period. It's not going to be a calendar year, it's going to be a rolling 12 months. And just as a reminder, your general plan, the strategic element of the general plan for this financial part of it is a 5-year plan. This is only for the first 12-month period to kick that part off for you guys.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open it up to the public for any comments or questions they may have. Anyone from the public? No, there being none, then I'll bring it back for further discussion and
Madam Chair?
Supervisor, yes,
I
sir.
may. I also want to invite Brent Barnes up as well.
You did say that. Thank you for reminding me. Brent, if you could come, oh, there you are. You could come up, and then Supervisor Munzer, do you have a question before Brent? comes up?
No, after I have a comment, but I didn't want to, I was just trying to get you
Oh, thank you.
to
I
see this.
appreciate that. And you did. Okay, Brent. You're going
Good
to tie
morning.
this all together, right, for us, so make it easy?
It should be so easy. The clerk is handing out a short presentation. I had been asked to prepare a one-page summary, and I got it down to 3 pages, so I guess I'm doing okay.
You did good.
First of all, a little bit of background. As you know, I'm from New Jersey. I spent the last 20 years practicing as a planner and a plangineer in New Jersey, wearing a transportation hat. And as a part of that, one of the things that I took on was bringing land use, transportation, and economic development together, things that don't usually talk to each other, and creating and implementing programs that make them work together, sort of force the conversation. 2 things that I want to point out, and I won't go into them in any detail here now, but I'd be happy to answer questions later on. The first is the Transit Village initiative that I ran for a number of years. It was a partnership between 11 state agencies to focus economic and community development around transit assets, that is bus stations, rail stations, commuter lines, new transit systems, and so on. Very successful, award-winning program used as a national model now. And the other is the Mobility and Community Forum program. Doesn't roll off of your tongue very easily, but it linked transportation and land use and forced a conversation between state agencies and local governments. And again, very successful program for economic development. So my point is that transportation, land use, and economic development really have to work together. You can't do just land use or just transportation and expect the community development results that you want. The general plan that you've adopted creates an excellent community vision, and I applaud you on that. It's really an excellent document. Transportation, multimodal transportation, of course, is the set of arteries that we use throughout our daily routine and across the years to get to places and make that community lifeblood really happen, make it flow. And the economic development strategy is the way to think about building long-term economic sustainability, both for businesses and for employees, excuse me, throughout the community. And it also helps us to weather financial cycles in a better way. Maybe not ideally, but certainly in a better way. The second page of the handout that I have for you just very, very summarily outlines some of the land use, transportation, and economic development goals, and shows how the language is common and how those things work together. And this is really the heart of what will be an economic development strategic plan. Now, it's going to sound a lot like the EDC and I have coordinated on this talk, but we have not yet. We will. On the third page, what I'm recommending to the board, and as something that we're at sort of at the glimmer in the eye stage, but we've already sort of kicked off the conversation, is implementing the general plan economic development element through an economic development strategy plan, a strategic plan. And I want to emphasize the word strategic there. We don't want to be all things to all people. What we want to do is provide direction, so the board has, the county board has a direct say in how the county proceeds with economic development. And we want to do facilitation. I don't mean that in the same way that Eric did with bringing folks together to talk about individual business problems, or the chamber that's going to do tourism recruitment and those sorts of things. What I'm talking about is identifying places where we can have particular impact, where businesses can have particular impact to help grow the county economy, and to help businesses and other agencies, NGOs, not-for-profits, find their way through the bureaucratic system, similar to the work that I did in the Transit Village Initiative, where we put interagency groups together to solve problems. So that involves, and the third element of this is providing government access. Again, your direct involvement through our office in the economic development program, but it involves 4 levels: federal, state, county, and local, and creating a strong communication link and partnership between those 4 levels of government so that we're all on the same page with regard to where the county wants to go. The third page, Eric talked about the baseline assessment, the SWOT analysis. We would intend to work very closely with them on that. It's the first step that has to be done. We would align that very closely with the general plan goals and objectives, and then we would create an action plan, the last 2 steps that are on this page, working with the EDC, the Chamber, the Business Council, CSUMB, and particularly the business school there. I spoke with Professor Bardot after the council meeting last week and suggested to him that it would be really wonderful to have a student group do a lot of the legwork as a part of their class. Their learning and our inexpensive labor to get some of this done. And he thought that was a brilliant idea. It's something I've done in New Jersey before. And so we're going to try and figure out how to work that for the spring semester. So finally, what we're suggesting is that you authorize us in a soft way, not a resolution or anything else, but just offer support for facilitating and coordinating government agency outcomes, both horizontally integrated across the county departments and vertically integrated with the state, the feds, the county, and the local governments in partnership. Questions?
Does that mean then, Brent, that we would actually, the Economic Development Corporation would then be under the county umbrella rather than off on their own?
I'm not suggesting that at this point. I think that a working partnership would be
The start.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely. And let me make perfectly clear that I'm probably the only one here this morning not asking for money.
Oh, thank God.
It's a fault of mine. I just
He
do
will.
stuff. Maybe next year.
No, but that's I mean, it's a good start because you have a plan of how we can all benefit from working together.
Right.
And the partnership. So I like that. I'm just wondering, I'm trying to envision how our own Economic Development Corporation that was funded by the city and the county.
Right.
And sponsors, right, Supervisor Vitello?
That's right, yeah.
How it would expand and how we would play a part in making sure that they.
Right. I am proposing to be your conduit,
Okay.
me personally.
All right, well, that's good.
For that.
Supervisor Vitello?
Yeah, I think what we have before us today is 2 tracks of requests. One track is for future business and job creation growth and monies that are needed for that, as well as this developing the strategies that, you know, the general plan, economic development element is, you know, requiring us to do. And the other track is to support existing local business and hopefully with that promotion, expansion, and job creation through that way, and that's what our chamber is requesting. And, you know, I think we have to, you know, seriously look into developing, you know, the the strategies, and I certainly appreciate, Director Barnes coming with his ideas, and it shows that the county is taking very seriously, the new general plan revision and its obligations for job creation and business growth.
It's a huge opportunity for the county. I think we should make the most of it. Not me personally a huge opportunity, but the economic development opportunity here.
Right. And so now I think we have to discuss how we're slice up the tiny pie, and I certainly want to continue to encourage Director Barnes to, work with our local entities to develop this program, and hopefully we grow from that.
Yeah, I think that direction is something that I would like to encourage, and it sounds like I'm getting some nods from the board, maybe not, I don't know. For him, like Director Barnes said, this is not a formal request, but should he explore the idea of coming back to the board and saying, you know what, this can work. Let's make it happen in this or that way. So, okay, so it sounds like we're saying yes to that. So, CAO.
No, yeah, that was it. I was just going to explain to the board, that was kind of the vision that we had, is to continue moving forward with this plan, the $25,000, splitting that out. But having a leader within our county, someone to kind of spearhead this to make sure and to have oversight, and that there is a return on investment, and to analyze and scrutinize this over this next year and to come back to the board. If we need to infuse more money into this, making sure we're in line with the general plan, those types of things. But having somebody that is a stakeholder for the county to be, have oversight over that. That was the plan.
Exactly. I think that's a great idea. And I think the direction that we should be given, which we'd love giving it directly to you, but really it should go through the CAO so that he works with you and makes sure that this plan comes back in some form at a future date. So. Okay, so
Madam
now,
Chair, I do have one question that in regards to EDC, is there, Mr. Johnson has to answer it, is there any support coming from Hollister as far as the, continuing the EDC? I know at one time they picked up the phone, and I don't know what they did once they picked up the phone, if there was people trying to contact the EDC, but.
Well, recently we lost our warm body to pick up the phone. We've reestablished that warm body for the City of Hollister. The City of Hollister has generously donated some staff time, and you can see as we ramp up with this task force, there's going to be a lot more coordination and that sort of thing. So they've done that. They've given it the city managers now on the board of directors, so that's good. And then we're talking to them now. I was hoping to give good news today, but something's in the works to get some kind of funding from them to invest in this important strategy, at least if not just the strategy, but the overall EDC on that. But currently, just to be clear, we have no public funds. We're accepting no public funds right now. Besides this proposal, which I'm very optimistic about, we've been using private dollars to keep it going, get the website revamped, and so on and so forth.
I think, given a plan and maybe at a future date, we're taking this real serious. I mean, we ought to be the ones answering the phone and directing, how, future businesses could move through the governmental bureaucracies that we have in place. So.
Thank you. Melinda, did you have something else to add? Supervisor Munzer, did you want to ask something of Aaron?
If Melinda has any, I'll wait after Melinda.
Okay.
So we did hand out an updated kind of request and allocation possible funding options. All the requests that we received today come to $37,000, and we allocated $25,000 towards economic development. That leaves a shortfall of $12,000. So if you chose to fund all the requests today, then the additional $12,000 would need to come from contingencies. There are also some different options for you to look at funding, just local funding, the ones that came before the board in during budget hearings, or some other different allocations if you'd like to fund everybody, fund part of them. that's, obviously your decision. I just wanted to let you know that to fund them all would require $12,000 out of contingencies.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. Supervisor Munzer?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know, I've made this comment in several settings. I don't know if I made it here or not. If I have, I apologize for repeating myself, but I experienced it firsthand last night. I was talking at a Monterey Bay Area Air Pollution Control meeting to Councilman Tim Talmadge, and it was right after Monterey's Classic Car Week. And I said, San Benito County needs to figure out how to get even 1% of your tourists into our county. And he said, Jerry, you have 50% of them driving through your county to get here.
That's true.
And so within our general plan, we have created commercial nodes along the highways, the state highway transportation areas. So I really feel that anything that we do for economic development, that needs to be stressed. We have the wine trail, that is important, but we need to develop those economic corridors, nodes, whatever you want to call them, along Highway 101 and Highway 156. And like I said, last night, my wife and I with some friends were coming back from Monterey, and we were stuck in the traffic. We jumped off of 156 onto Castroville Road because 156 was a parking lot. I even had time to look over at Highway 1 after the split at Castroville. Highway 1 was a parking lot. So I know we don't get all the tourists driving through the county from Monterey, but I would bet we get half of them. And we have to figure out how to
Monopolize.
remove a little bit of their money out of their wallet on their drive through the county. So that's my comment on this. I have thoughts about how I would divvy up our 25,000. I don't know if we're ready to discuss that
I
yet
think
or
we
not.
are. I think we're ready to go, and then after we make a decision, what we are going to do is take a break and then come back for item number 21. So yes, we're
Well,
ready.
I'll go ahead then. I appreciate Monterey Bay Economic Partnership coming here. I was having a hard time looking at it at a $5,000 level, at a $10,000 level. Unfortunately, I have a real hard time with that based on how long they have been in existence. I would like to see a little bit more time under the belt for them before I could fund it, especially at a $10,000 level at this time. So I'll throw out numbers, and I think my math is right. I would throw out the support of the San Benito County Chamber of Commerce at $18,000.
At how much again?
$18,000. The San Benito County Economic Development Corporation at the $5,000 level, and the Monterey County Business Council at the $2,000 level.
And that would make 25. Is that in the form of a motion?
Well, if you're ready for a motion, I'll make it. If there's other discussions that want to go on, and
You know
then-
what, I think further discussion is probably okay at this point, but let me find out before we do that. Supervisor De La Cruz, I wanted to give you an opportunity, and
In terms of
the others?
Yeah, well, I can't support that concept. I'm leaning towards San Benito County Chamber of Commerce, and I'm going to stick with the Economic Development Corporation, those two. Yeah, the local options.
The local options is what you're leaning towards?
Yeah. The 20 and then 5.
Okay, Supervisor Rivas?
Yeah, and I want to thank everyone who gave the board a presentation. I think it was educational, learning what is out there, not only locally, but from a regional perspective. But at this point, I think, as I said at our previous meeting, it's $25,000. It's, for us, it's a drop in the bucket. And so I certainly want to go with the local option, and I was ready just to fund the $25,000 to the Chamber of Commerce, but after listening to the Economic Development Corporation, I appreciate that you guys met, and I certainly will also go with the local option and go the split of the $20,000 and $5,000. And I hope that as we move forward, that if we can be more efficient and continue to meet, I think that not only helps both organizations, but it helps our county certainly. So thanks, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Supervisor Batella?
Thank you. I want to thank the Monterey County people for showing up to this meeting and making their presentations. But I kind of have to go with Supervisor Munzer. That's kind of along the lines I was thinking even before he made the proposal. I certainly appreciate the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership for coming. We're going to have a tax measure in 2016 that hopefully will help us have a little bit more resources to participate more regionally. We're also growing as a county. We have some, opportunities that come into fruition very shortly. I think it's pretty exciting times for us, I think. And so what I'm trying to say is that don't wipe us off your map. We certainly feel that we have to get our own strategic plan put together first before we look in a broader sense regionally. So that's where I'm at anyway with the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. The Monterey County Business Council's program with the PTAC, I think, is very much needed for our existing businesses. I've had, complaints that locally we don't compete for government, projects, and I think this could be a solution for it, and so I am inclined to support that. It's only $2,000. I think it's measurable. That if we could get a report next year, if we have the votes here to support that, I don't know. But I really do want to support the EDC and try to get that off the ground again. Their mission is absolutely critical for business attraction to this county. We have to do a better job. At one time, we had a great EDC, but this is going back a couple of decades now. We have to do better. So I'm encouraged with Director Barnes and the EDC report. So I'm going to support Supervisors Munzer's suggestion of $18,000 to the Chamber of Commerce and $5,000 to the San Bernardino County Economic Development Corporation, along with $2,000 going to the Monterey County Business Council.
Okay, thank you so much. And as far, I've always been a believer that we have to invest locally first, and so I do appreciate our Chamber of Commerce, what they have done, and they really already have shown a track record of really going places with the amount of money that they have. But with that being said, I also know that we have to invest in ourselves beyond San Bernardino County. I want to, at some point, be a part of the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. Congressman Farr and others have said that the regional partnerships are key. They're key. We are part of a region that needs to be connected, and we are connected in so many other ways. This is just another expansion of where we should be going. So I think for success, we have to think a little more globally. So I just want to throw this out there, that if there is any way that within our 15-16 budget that we could identify funds, I don't know that we can do this. Maybe additional monies coming from perhaps sales tax. I really don't want to miss out an opportunity. They are already actually helping San Bernardino County in an indirect way. They've already included our county in some of the things that are going out. And they have already connected us with folks, because I've talked to some of the, I can't remember who it was that I spoke with, but they're already mentioning San Bernardino County and promoting us. So, CAO, I don't know how we can do this.
Madam Chair, if I may. So during the budget hearings, the board approved a contingency of $500,000. We have not used any money to this date, so we would be able to take $2,000 out of that. If not, I mean, there is probably something that we could probably look at from a fund perspective within the administration area. But I think that's probably your best avenue. It's just $2,000, not very much. if that's the request of.
Yeah, well, I was thinking more in lines of that, if we do have additional, besides using contingent, because the contingency funds is more of an emergency
Yeah.
fund, and I understand that we don't want to use that if we don't have to, because we may need it for the county, something of a greater, emergency, if you want to call it that. But I was thinking more in line of additional funds that may be coming in. Are we able to, as a county, say, okay, with additional funds coming from a certain, like I said, I just mentioned sales tax, there could be property taxes, I don't know. I really don't want to throw that out the window and say that we shouldn't be participating this fiscal year. Melinda, is there any opportunity there? And I don't even know that I have the support of the rest of the supervisors, but if I don't, then don't even go there. But like I said, it is regionally that I feel very strongly can also be very beneficial to our county. We don't have an ocean, but we have certainly a lot of other qualities that can be advertised through their huge, outreach.
Madam Chair, if I may.
CAO.
So we are going to be bringing back a fourth quarter report to your board, where we're at financially. We are doing pretty well. So my suggestion is to move forward with the local. If there's any funds available out of where we're at on the rollover, then I would suggest probably, moving forward. I mean, it's only a couple $1,000s, not very much. And we'd probably come back to your board with that.
Well, no, it's $10,000.
Well, if we
for
did the
this.
full amount, so if you're asking for local support, which is 20 and 5, plus the 2,000 for the PTAC.
Yeah, because
PTAC.
I'll be leaning more towards the.
But if you wanted to
Supervisor
do the full amount, obviously it's 37, if I recall,
Well,
so
no, I
that's
was
12,000.
thinking just of adding the 10,000 at some point
Okay.
to be a member of the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership.
But that doesn't include the PTAC that Supervisor Anthony Botello and Supervisor Munzer were requesting, or actually, I think
No,
it was
it does,
Botello.
because we're going 18, 5, and 2.
Well,
So we would be not giving
Okay,
the
the
full
18.
amount to the Chamber of
Got it.
Commerce.
okay.
And we would, so I'm looking just for the 10,000 for the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership in the near future.
So are you saying 18, 5, and 2?
18, 5, and 2.
Well, we have funds for that, 25,000.
Right.
Plus the 10.
Plus the 10, okay.
Yeah.
So 10.
But if you're coming back for a quarter report, that maybe at that time we can look at it again. And I'd like to keep it on the table and not, like I said, not throw it out the window. I think it's important for us to be connected regionally, so.
Madam Chair, Ray, can you look into, maybe you, Barbara, that the discussions we're having now, would it require a 4/5 votes or a simple majority when it comes to fiscal matters?
I don't know.
If it's going to be coming from contingency.
Yeah, contingency
If it's a
4/5, yeah.
contingency, it's definitely 4/5.
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
4/5, Madam
Yeah.
Chair, and I won't support it, Madam.
Okay,
I don't support the 10,000.
okay. Well, not now, but I mean, in the future, okay.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Okay, so the next fiscal year, okay, so
Yeah.
that kind of takes care of it if it's a 4/5. But I'd like to really bring it back, certainly for the following fiscal year. All right, so then we have, did we have a motion with yours?
I made it in a motion.
You made it in the form of a motion to go with the option number, make it an option number 4 with 18 to the chamber, 5 to the Economic Development Corporation, and 2 for the Monterey County Business Council. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second it.
And there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Can you repeat the motion, Madam Chair,
The
please?
motion is to give 18,000, use our full 25, 18 to the Chamber of Commerce, 5 for the San Benito County Economic Development Corporation, and 2 for Monterey County Business Council, which is the PTAC?
PTAC.
Can I call for a question?
Yes, you may.
Barbara, does this require a 4/5 vote? This, the way we're allocating?
Is the money already budgeted?
Yes, it is budgeted.
The
Already
money's
budgeted.
budgeted.
No, I mean, it doesn't require a 4/5
Gotcha.
vote if it's already budgeted.
Right.
Yeah, as long as it's in the budget, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion before we take the vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, it passes 3-2 in option number 4 that we created with 18, 5, and 2. Okay, and I want to thank all of you for your wonderful presentations. This is very challenging to split 25,000 so thinly, but we did it, so thank you. Okay, we'll take a short break and come back in 10 minutes.
You know, one of our attractions to Samuel County, we are the only county west of Texas that has zebra mussels.
Come and see them.
Take home your own zebra mussel.
We have to add you.
Glad I didn't ask for the full 15.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, well, thank you for coming down. It's very interesting.
Yeah, no, we need you guys at the table.
Yeah.
And more, it's the outreach, so you know it's there.
Yeah, because that's what, you know, we catch flack on this, that we're sending out money when we have so many other needs here.
Right.
But this is an investment, and we do need to be at the table and make our presence known. But
Just started, but she ran an SBDC in Seattle.
Right.
She's done workforce development. She's worked in the private sector for a big ag company in the contracting. So she gets it from both sides.
yeah, well, we're going to get there, but like I mentioned, we have to get our own house in order and have a plan going forward. We got to get the EDC, you know, viable, and then we go out and be a little bit more confident and comfortable doing what we're
We're
doing.
here. We're assigned by the Defense Logistics Agency. We have
Okay.
San Diego County.
Oh,
So-
great.
so-
And we want to, well, I see a real need for it. You know, there's a lot of people that just can't do that. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
out there this weekend, Anthony, doing apples?
Yeah.
You are?
I was literally out there this weekend picking apples. I haven't picked so many apples in a long time.
If you need help, let me know. I'll go out there Saturday and help you out.
Oh, okay. I'll keep that in mind.
I'll take a few people with me too.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Now you're down. That's it. You might be going back to your roots.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Let me know. I have nothing going on Saturday. So.
All right. Yeah, that's. I hope it cools down because boy, it's been miserable.
Yesterday, again? I thought we were,
You know,
really? I didn't know that. I thought it was, we were in a cooling trend now.
correct me if I'm wrong, but this summer has been pretty warm.
Oh my gosh, yes, warmer than I have seen it in a long time.
Yeah, because usually the fog would come in.
We'd get 1 week of really hot weather, remember? And that was it. We were done. Yeah. Now we're getting.
Yeah, we'll get the count.
Are we ready?
Propose to the sheriff. You know, the guys that they arrested out of the cornfields. Yeah. Well, the county act as a contractor. You know, we have a farm labor crew for people that are low risk. You know, you don't want to turn out child molesters or anything like that. But why not for us to make some money? Pay for the food and board that we're providing them. They're comfortable in jail if you threw them in the cornfield. And the farmer would pay the county whatever, you know, $10, $12 an hour, and plus all the benefits, cover the insurance, and we offset it with our, you know, cost.
Are we ready?
For them themselves, because they're not doing anything anyway. What do you think? I think if private prisons in other states do that, they build things and they have prison factories, I think that would work here. And give them all the employment, you know.
Don't go to San Benito. I'm doing you wrong. We working for.
Well, but I think if it was me, if I was sitting in jail, I'd rather be picking apples or cutting.
You know what? I would too.
Yeah.
I'd rather be doing something, being behind.
Doing something than, you know, because.
And then you can sleep better at night. Or maybe you don't want to sleep better at night.
When they get off from, you know, doing that work, they go back to jail, get a good meal. Never ready to go to bed. That's something to think about.
I'd rather put people to
Yeah,
work.
I'd rather work.
They're cheaper to maintain.
All you do is sit in that cell thinking about what you did wrong.
And what you can do, what else can you do if you get caught?
Yeah.
Lou,
Well,
are we ready?
you should have seen the look on those poor guys when they were all lined up on the ground that got arrested next door at my place. You know, they were all pretty upset.
What was that? Yeah, the recorder's on.
Probably can't happen in California. They probably have a law.
Okay, I'd like to continue our meeting with item number 21, CAO Espinosa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As your board is aware, we met in August at our board retreat, and we discussed not only economic development, but we also discussed software, and software in particular, dealing with Laserfish and our document management system, as well as an agenda management system, and how we could streamline operations within the clerk of the board's office. Not only does it impact the clerk of the board's office, but it does impact other departments, in particular our bigger departments, Health and Human Services, our RMA department, and really all of our department heads actually touch how we move forward with AIT staff reports and contracts and documents, in particular bringing them to the board. So today we have Jim Riding-Sword here to discuss Laserfish a little bit with you and how it affects his department and moving forward with the purchase of that. I know your board did request some more information with regard to that, and in particular, your board requested an ROI return on investment, to look at what we can do to really cut the cost down. So I've also asked our clerk of the board, because it really does impact his office as well, to give a quick, brief presentation and to re-highlight this back to the board, because not all were in attendance at the board retreat. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Jim. Jim?
Thank you. Actually, my conversation on this project began 6-7 months ago with the county administrator, with the concept that we were looking at Health and Human Services to try to move our operations into a paperless operation, which is much more feasible today than it was even 5 years ago. And so we began to move forward with a company that has a product called Laserfish, ECS imaging. And one of the reasons we began to look at this is because it's something that they've done work in other jurisdictions and so forth. Oh, okay. Is that on now?
Now it's on. Sorry.
All right. You want me to go over everything you missed, or should I just go on? Okay.
Yeah, if you could just
Sure.
kind of start from
Sure.
the beginning. Thank you.
So about, I would say 7 or 8 months ago, I began a conversation with the county administrator on Health and Human Services moving to a paperless system for our operations. Much of our operations are currently paperless through state computer systems. This would move the other part of our operations, letters and and memos and things like that, into a paperless environment. We've done some preliminary looks at what this could do for us in terms of reduction of paper. I can't even tell you the amount of paper that runs around in our office. And even if we can reduce that by 50%, the savings are pretty significant. At the same time, when we were looking at it, the ECS introduced us to an agenda management system, because they asked us if, do you have boards that meet that could use an agenda management system? And of course, we have the Community Action Board, the Workforce Investment Board. We have other kind of committees and boards that meet. And so we wanted to begin to not only utilize document management, but we wanted to begin at some point in time to consider agenda management for those kinds of functions. We actually did a study on that with ECS, and it indicated, I think, as you'll see later on, that just the agenda management part of it could save us about $60,000 a year. So today, we have, and so in the meantime, then the clerk of the board expressed an interest on working in partnership with us. So we have gone back to ECS. We've redone our contracts that are in front of you today. We have split the cost. Most of the cost of this right now is being picked up through Health and Human Services resources, because we'll be a heavy user of the system. So today we're asking the board to approve the contract with ECS Imaging for purchase, installation, and training on both Laserfish and Novus Agenda System for a period of September 2015 through September 2016, with the option to renew additional years through 2018, and authorize the board chair to sign the approved contract. So Louis is going to run you through a PowerPoint presentation that he's put together on this that kind of goes into some of the detail, and then will be available for any questions for you and the public.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, members of the board. We have been in discussions with Mr. Riding Sword for at least the last couple of months, and The discussions were a result of the initial analysis that I conducted after I was appointed clerk of the board to kind of do a review of all the operations of the office. In short order, what I did was, in a very preliminary and cursory way, but nonetheless in as best a manner as we could, I provided a series of recommendations and analysis to the CAO regarding the operations of the office. There were 8 areas that we identified, but 2 or 3 of the most critical ones that we identified right off the top of the bat was the need for, number 1, the procurement and implementation of a comprehensive enterprise-level agenda management system. Number 2, a enterprise-level records management system. And number 3, a enterprise-level system to manage our contracts. The last of the 3 areas is going to be covered, and is, I should say, covered currently through the New World ERP system. We will be attending that New World ERP conference next week to receive extensive training, and we've already gone through a few days of training on site with the New World representative as of last week. The issue, however, of course, is then what remains are the agenda management and the records management functions. And so I prepared a short PowerPoint that vividly illustrates, I think, what our challenge is with regard to agenda management and what we're going to ask from the board. We also have a few videos to show you from both Laserfish and from Novus. And I'll have a document at the end of my presentation that runs through a very preliminary ROI, thank you, Sarah, that will speak to the issues in terms of cost and where the money will come from. Upon my engagement here, found that our meetings were going very long. This is just a very lighthearted illustration of the manner in which we have all, in the last few months, gone through the meetings and the agenda process. As it currently stands, it is a very long process, it is a very time-consuming process, and it is a largely manual process. And so one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we started to look at as quickly as possible was the engagement of an agenda and records management system to cut down that time. Why? Because not necessarily so much for staff, which is important for us to do our jobs a little bit more efficiently, but trying to get the agendas to you, the members of the board, in a much more timely manner so you have time to review it, reflect upon it, contact staff, ask questions, and then be prepared to make much more informed and a little bit more insightful decision on what you get right now. Our current records management system is basically this. And what that means is that we have multiple sites across the county where we have multiple filing cabinets, including in the back here, off-site at some storage locations, and in some other places where our current records system and our current archives are basically thrown together, if you will, in a very unruly and unwieldy way. We do not have a comprehensive list of everything we have right now. And that creates a problem because if the CAO asks us to research a contract, to research information from a previous meeting from more than 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, it's very hard to locate that information. The only way we can do that is by actually physically going to that location, looking up that information by hand, and then getting back to the CAO in like manner. That's very time consuming. That takes up approximately half to 3/4 of the time that we spend on a daily basis working here in the office. Okay, so that's problem number 1. That's basically me after the agendas are put together, so I wanted to throw that in there. I was going to say that was Ray, but he's gotten a whole lot better than that. In any case, what we're asking you for here is the opportunity to bring a new system online that's going to provide world-class customer service. The very minor changes that we've made so far have been very well received by the departments. We want to make sure that we provide the best service, that we provide service that will make us one of the top-rated agencies, not only within San Benito County, but regionally. And we want to make sure that we have data to support all the information, or I should say all the decisions that you're making. And in order to do that, we need these systems that can mine the data and provide that information to you and to the CAO in an efficient manner. The first piece of that is agenda management, and we have identified Novus through the discussions that Jim had with them as the premier company for us to go through, given the resources that we have available. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you a couple of videos. They're very short that kind of speak to the many features. I showed this video during the retreat, and I'm going to go ahead and move into that right now so you can see how this particular system operates. And hopefully we will be able to make this work here just a moment. Naturally, the internet connection is not working, which it was all weekend. So if you bear with me here for one moment.
Ray to the rescue.
Ray is going to come to the rescue here. This was connected this morning. Oh, there it is. Okay. I knew that Ray was coming, so.
Drop kick
It felt threatening.
It felt, I better get a job. This? That's up there. So it's a pretty wide-angle view of what it does. And the important features here are the video indexing and the minutes issue that I know has been brought up before. The video indexing will allow the clerk of the board to enter a video index link to each discussion item point that will allow the person who wants to view the meeting in the future to click on that link, to go to a particular item that's being discussed and to see what was said. They don't have to wait there and scroll through the entire meeting and try and look to see what's going on. That's number one. Number two, with regard to the minutes, it creates a template for us to take what are called true action minutes. The motion was made by so-and-so, seconded, and the vote was taken. Now, there is the question, of course, of what if I want to have my comments included? What if I want to have something that's put on the record that I want to make sure is accentuated? We can also accommodate that with an additional video indexing link. Right now, one of the very time-consuming things that we deal with are the actual drafting of the minutes. The documents are very long, and they can be very subjective as well. So the person who's taking the minutes certainly has a role in shaping what the tone and what the shape of those may be. We want to get away from that. We want to make sure that what's on the record is what's on the video and on the recording so that the folks in the public can interpret that by themselves and make their own decisions. I think that's a very important piece of this particular software program. Now, with regard to Laserfiche, So that's Novus. With regard to Laserfiche and Novus, we did basically a little bit of a comparison between what the features are and what the advantages are going to be with regard to both systems. Laserfiche obviously is going to be a document management system. It's integrated with ERP. The Novus has the video indexing that I mentioned before, the meeting minutes. The board portal, I think, is probably one of the most important things for all of you, because you will be able to see almost in real time the manner in which agenda items are flowing. You'll be able to be aware of what's going on when you log into those, and you'll be able to take your own notes. Right now, what you do is you download your PDF file. It's usually given to you on a Thursday or on a Friday. You have to go through the weekend and look at it. Doesn't give you a lot of time to contact staff and go through and ask questions. With this, you'll have much more up-to-date information, and you'll be able to access that from any device that you have, which was one of the other concerns that we had with some of the options that we were going to present to you. So economies of scale, improves customer service, system automation, and transparency. Those are some of the big advantages that both systems provide to us. Now, integration with Laserfiche and ERP. I mentioned earlier we're going to go to the New World Conference next week. The documents that we are going to be uploading to ERP are going to be housed in Laserfiche, so that we don't overwhelm the ERP system with database information. So we'll have a link that'll look like a paperclip that will take us directly to each one of the contracts that we're going to start entering, and all the database information that's going to be entered into that system. And that will also facilitate us with the preparation of the agendas, so we can simply pull that data from the database and include it as part of the agenda management document. So I'd like to show you the Laserfiche video now at this point, and let me back this up and show you a couple of minutes of this one as well.
Your structure offers an easy-to-navigate visual display for browsing through documents, whether you're working with 10,000 or 100 million documents. Authorized users can quickly find information, even if they have never used Laserfiche, by simply drilling down through folders. By emulating your existing filing system, Laserfiche fits comfortably into your business.
Okay, well, that was unusual.
That happens to my computer all the time.
Well, this did not happen before, but in any case, it looks like we are going to have a bit of an issue with that. Yeah, there's something wrong with the website.
So-
In any case, so basically what it does there is it provides a database for all of our documents, creates a database that's easily accessible, and it integrates with ERP and the other system, Novus.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, please.
So I just want, for clarity purposes, so when we're talking Laserfiche, we're talking document management system. I don't know, probably 3-4 weeks ago, I went to the clerk and said, hey, I need to get a copy of whatever, the current fire contract. I forgot which one it was, animal control contract, one of those two. And he had downloaded everything out of our current system into a file format. And he says, about what time did this occur? I said, okay, it occurred probably about 2 or 3 years ago, whatever day it was. He went into the file format and started going through each folder. And I said, what are you doing? This is insane. That's crazy. You're going to be here hours, all day long looking for this. And there's hundreds, if not thousands of folders. I said, you can't do that. You need to have a good system where you have searching capabilities, where it can search the name of the file, but not only name of the file, it could also search the content within the file itself or the data. So basically, what this is it's the AITs, the staff reports, all of those documents that you see on a regular basis every meeting, all of that will be stored in this document management system where it has good searching capabilities. Easy, the ability for department heads or staff within the departments to be able to scan all those documents into the system, I think is extremely key and vital. Being able to pull reports out, being able to look at data is extremely important to see where we stand with different items. So that's what that is. The contracts themselves, there are hundreds of contracts that we have.
637.
And we need to know when they expire. Do they have insurance? Do they have all these items? We need to be able to pull reports, run a report, and find out where we're at. And we don't have that ability. Everything's in a file cabinet. So we need to have a really good, solid document management system. That's what the Laserfish is. Now you have agenda management system is what the processes in which these agendas get pushed through. Goes to the county council's office after Public Works or RMA department, and then it comes back to the CIO for approval, and so on and so forth. So that is the process of the workflow. That's what the agenda management system is. So I just wanted to clarify that and kind of give a quick brief of what that presentation or that video was of Laserfish. I think it's extremely vital, very important for the clerk to be able to manage that as well as the departments.
So one of the things that, along those same lines, when I mentioned ERP, I mentioned that along with Laserfish because the ERP system provides for us the ability to run reports with regard to the contracts. What's the expiration date? What are important milestones and terms that need to be known and addressed? What are all those pieces of information that need to be known? Once we have all that data entered, we'll be able to run those reports and provide that information, whether it's to Melinda or to the CAO's office or to the auditor as it becomes necessary. The rest of the documents with regard to the rest of the departments, is there a resolution that RMA needs? Is there something that the Public Works Department needs to know about that is stored in our files? We'll be able to access that very easily and prepare the agendas a lot more quickly. Now, we do have one system right now. It's called Questies that houses everything. That particular system is a very buggy and unreliable system, and not everybody has access to it. The other thing is that the upgrades are not addressing the bugs that we've identified, so it becomes very difficult to manage that information, which is why I downloaded all that information to try and look for it. It was quicker to do it that way than use the system itself. So the bottom line for all of this is that we feel strongly, after reviewing the costs and the benefits, that this system will save us a lot of money, not only with regard to the agenda and records management, but with regard to staff time, with regard to time and materials, with regard to duplication of efforts. Right now, you have many different departments who have their own agenda coordinators, who have their own manner of managing all that information, and the clerk's office doesn't have any access to that data, so we need to do that. In HHSA, they estimated that they're going to save approximately $60,000 a year in less paper use and all of that. I do have one document that I'd like to show and pass out to the board that addresses the meeting automation piece of this as well. So, Mr. Pass that down. Give that to you. So one of the things that I did was, well, before I get to this particular slide, one of the things that I did was the persons who are involved in preparing the agenda items right now usually are the persons who are at the director level or the staff level, right under the director. So what I did was, in a very conservative manner, I took 1 hour's worth of time for each of the department heads. I only took 13 of them. I didn't include all 16. 13 of them, estimated from HR what their hourly wage is, and then multiplied that times the amount of time that they would spend, which is 1 hour for each meeting, and what I came up times 26 meetings, and that's $23,000 a year, okay, approximately, $23,348. Now, we all know, or I should say maybe I'm sure that Brent is finding this out, and Mr. Hortle knows this, that they spend far more time on any one agenda item than 1 hour. It takes time to research it, to write the report, to submit it to the clerk's office, to submit it to legal review, to submit it back to the clerk's office, to come down for agenda review, and so on. And so the amount of money and the amount of time and effort that is going to be saved and duplication eliminated is going to far exceed any of the upfront or continuous costs that this particular system represents to the board. It's also going to provide us the ability to provide data for evidence-based practices and information to you in a much more efficient manner. And the document that I just gave you, I should say, basically delineates the amount of savings over a 5-year period that we could potentially save if we were to implement this particular system. Right now, our staff spends almost half the time researching requests and the other half managing the agenda. We are not managing contracts the way we should. We are not managing our boards and commissions in as efficient and as proactive a manner as we should. We are not doing many of those things that the legal mandates require as we should be. And so we feel very strongly that this system, in cooperation and in partnership with HHSA, is really going to make San Benito County a very data-driven and a very modern operation. For your consideration, one of the things that this system will also do, we will be the only public agency in the county with a fully automated and integrated agenda records management system. The city of Hollister does have Laserfiche, but they do not have an agenda management system to speak of. We will, and neither does San Juan Bautista. So we will be at the forefront, and we will be providing leadership in that particular area. So those are all very exciting aspects of what we are asking the board to do, and for the cost involved, very modest. We think it's a very big advantage for us. So I'm happy to take your questions at this point.
Thank you, Louis. Okay, do we have questions from the board? Well, I'll start here with Supervisor Munzer, then Supervisor De La Cruz. You have a question, and Supervisor Rivas.
Louis, so would the other commissions and boards, such as the Planning Commission, Vets Park, Park and Rec, they'll use this to put their agendas together and keep the records of their agendas?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Munzer, we will make the system available to all the boards and commissions, and we will set up a protocol for everyone to follow where everybody will be able to access all of that information on the system. Yes. Right now, you know, I'll get an agenda from somebody and I won't necessarily know that that's going to happen until I get it. So this will unify and centralize that, that practice. Yes, sir.
Okay, Supervisor De La Cruz?
Microphone, Mr. De La Cruz.
You said you can save almost $292,000 of labor costs?
I did not. The analysis that was provided does.
The analysis provided. And that was based from management, the time taken away from creating the agendas?
Right now, the amount of time that's managed or that's spent on managing and putting the agendas together is going to be saved significantly through the implementation of this system over that period of time. Yes, sir.
Because I look at it, most of the costs is mostly fixed costs.
They are.
You know, a manager puts in 8 hours, regardless if it's 3, 4, 5, or 6. It's 8 hours. And you know, now if it's a variable cost like an hourly wage employee, then I understand the cost savings. So I don't see there's as much of a cost saving from that perspective, because somehow management will find a way to, you know, with that free time, they'll find some other work to do.
Well,
I mean, that's the way I look at it.
Supervisor De La Cruz, the issue then becomes, you're correct. The issue then becomes, however, that when we implement the system, if the board approves it, we'll have to shift the manner in which we think and go about doing that work. One of the things that I have found is that there's a lot of time spent on putting information together, but there's not a lot of time available, as much as I think the managers would want, to reflect upon that information and how do we proceed. Case in point, well, you know, we need to have a list of streets and roads. We need to have a list of contracts. We need to have a list of reports. We don't have that right now, and I think this shift in thinking and this approach, this management tool is going to allow the staff to do that in a much more effective manner.
I mean, it's a little bit far-fetched from the concept, but okay, I'll buy into
Okay.
it. The other one is a net cost savings that can be used for the protection of jobs. Can you explain that to me? How is that going to?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last
Sure.
part.
A net cost savings that can be used for the protection of jobs. What do you mean by that?
Well, right now, we have the issue with regard in, I'll give you the example of the clerk's office. Right now, we have the assistant clerk with 3/4 time, okay? If we're able to identify efficiencies within this, with this system, then we think we're going to be able to be creative with the manner in which we use our budget dollars to possibly increase staffing or to at least bring the current staffing that we have up to full-time. Now, that's going to depend upon how the deployment and how the operations of the system take place, but with that money freed up, then we're going to be able to use at least some of that for other priorities that we have identified, such as a unified records retention schedule that we need to have in place in order to effectively manage this particular system.
Okay. And then a good portion of the money is coming out of the non-general fund
Yes.
accounts, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
The vast majority, I think, 190,000 of it or 185,000 of it comes from non-general fund monies.
Yeah, when we started this project, one of the things I said to Ray is, let Health and Human Services, kind of be the forerunner on document management, because at that point in time, we were not talking about agendas. And I said, let us use our funding sources to kind of be a pilot. And once we show how it can work, then you can begin to migrate it to other departments at a much lesser cost. Let us absorb the initial cost. The agenda management part for us offers some great opportunities for our Work Enforcement Board, our Community Action Board. I cannot tell you how much paperwork we produce just for those two boards that could now be document managed, and we can actually, when they come to a meeting, we can actually provide it for them on our website to say, here's your agenda for next time. You can look at it and it'll be up on the screen or on a computer screen when you come to the meeting. And we just simply won't be printing and printing and printing and printing and printing like we do today.
Okay. Madam Chair, my last question, Jim.
Yes, sir.
If the system fails, you just go back to the old way?
Well, as I've said to the board earlier.
I got to ask that question.
Yes. As I've said to the board earlier on things that we consider, we don't consider failure an option.
Thank you.
We look at things from a success point of view, and we know that other jurisdictions have used these kinds of systems successfully, so we're not the first one out of the gate. We're not inventing the wheel. We're doing what other jurisdictions have successfully already done. So from our point of view, it will be a success.
Well, Jim, I only say that because we experienced, Supervisor Botello and myself, and I think to some degree, our Madam Chair, we experienced a great software project accounting software project called, World Bytes, that is just worthless today, that now we're going into a whole new system.
Yeah, and the thing is, even 5 years ago, when you were looking at document management systems, you had to ask questions about, how successful it will be. But these are now proven systems that have been operating in other counties. We just know that we can make this work. It's just not a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Supervisor Rivas?
I gotta cast this dark cloud away from this corner.
I know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivas.
Let's all move this way.
And obviously I say that as a joke. I mean it in no, not a disrespectful way. But when we talk about paperless, we're talking about electronically submitting agenda items, correct? Okay, so this is not far-fetched. This is something that is definitely something that needs to change, and this change is absolutely necessary and way, way overdue. When we talk about inefficiency, in my opinion, it starts with this system for our county. When you're talking about department heads, staff members driving from the Health and Human Services Agency to bring agenda items that probably need to be corrected, and then they got, I don't know how many trips they have to make to bring this paper document over. It makes absolutely no sense. It's just an absolutely inefficient system. And this is something that's occurring in the clerks of the board's office that has less than 2 full-time equivalent employees, which is ridiculous in my opinion. When I worked for the County of Monterey and their clerks division, we had a staff of 5. and we changed our system. I left prior to the complete transfer of this paperless system, but it was something that Monterey County, the CAO is advocating for from an efficiency perspective. You know, not from the paper and whatnot, but just staff time that was dedicated to coming back and forth from the clerk's division. You know, where they wanted to implement this workflow system that happened electronically, and this is definitely something a step in the right direction. It's going to save county time, it's going to save county money, and it's going to make, in my opinion, the clerk's job much more efficient, less stressful, and he's actually going to be, have a lot more time on his hands to do meaningful work rather than push paper around. So this is a slam dunk in my, in my opinion. This is something that is way overdue. But when I look at the staff report, the only question I have is, this is going to be a pilot program between, so it's not going to be countywide, or is it just going to be between Health and Human Service Agency for now?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Rivas, first of all, we're going to get a 3-month trial for the Novus system for free before we pay them.
Is that the free pilot that they were talking about?
That is exactly right. We're going to get that for free, and we're going to see how we like it. If we like it, we anticipate that we will, but if for some reason something were to happen that were to reveal something wrong with the system or something that doesn't work for us, we can always get out of it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we will begin probably between ourselves and Health and Human Services at least for a month or two before we deploy it out to the rest of the departments. The goal is to get it out to the departments no later than January for the new year. Okay, because we want to make sure that we have the data in place to help the CAO's office begin with the preparations of the budget and all that other data that has to be made available. Once we have all those protocols in place, then we will go ahead and deploy it to the rest of the departments. We're going to start entering the contracts as soon as we get back from New World Conference, so we can start running those reports. That will become part of the accessibility to data that we're going to make available to the rest of the departments. So to answer your question, we'll start small, we'll grow it out to the departments, because then we have to write policies for all this. Because it's just not, throwing the system out there and, hey, this is how you use it, go for it. So we've got to write policies to make sure that these things are institutionalized.
Right. And, kind of as a follow-up question, I know this is entirely separate, but we have a whole bunch of historical documents that need to be archived. This would not be part of a package, right? That would be separate?
This will not be part of the initial package. There is the State Historical Archives Act, and there's monies available through that act to address that issue. We would like to make the Laserfiche piece of it eventually part of the archiving of those documents so we can make those publicly available. People are really interested in those documents. But that's a whole separate piece.
Gotcha.
Eventually we'll get there, but we're not quite ready for that yet.
Awesome. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
Supervisor Munzer? No? Okay. Well, you answered a lot of my questions through the other supervisors. I agree with you that we're long overdue, Supervisor Rivas. And you also said that this system is not new. It's already being used places, so we're not going to be a guinea pig for the system itself.
This is a system that has been widely used, endorsed by the National League of Cities through many municipalities, and it is very well regarded.
Okay, and then other departments will get to use it later. Pertaining to the agenda, you can start, let's say on Monday, it's on there, but it's preliminary. So we have to make sure that when we see it at its final point, that we know that it's a final agenda. Is there a way to let us know that is the final doc?
Yes, we simply have to work what the details out will be. That's a work product, I think, exception that may exist in the statutes.
Okay.
But we don't know how that's going to shake out in terms of how you will be able to reference that information. Nevertheless, we will let you know when that item is finalized as part of the agenda.
Okay, good, because that's important to us.
Yes.
All right, and so we'll be using the Laserfiche and the Novus together. I mean, they're one and the same?
No, they're two separate systems. Laserfiche is a database. The Novus Agenda Management is an agenda management system. Okay. However, those are two separate systems that will be fully integrated. The documents that we upload into the Laserfiche database will be able to draw on those. The other thing is in the ERP system, we're also going to load documents into Laserfiche, which is where those documents will be drawn from, so we don't overload the ERP system itself.
So these will be integrated.
That's
right?
correct.
So, okay, that's all, those are all my questions. Any other questions?
And I did want to make one point, Mr. De La Cruz, I want to reiterate Jim's point, we will not fail on this. We're going to make this
I'd
work,
like
we're
to
going to
hear
make
that.
sure that it works.
It's not an option.
It's not an option.
Anybody from the public that would like to talk or ask questions about this? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board then.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with ECS Imaging, Inc. for the purchase and installation and training of the Novus Agenda Management System and the Laserfiche Document Management System for a period of September 8th through 2015 through September 8th, 2016, with a renewal option of 2 years. And
Okay.
have authorized board to sign the contracts.
There's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, 4-1. So it passes 4-1. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Louis, for your presentation. Thank you, Jim. Number 22, CAO Espinosa.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this particular item is going to be presented by our assessor, Tom Slavich, and he is going to be presenting to your board the 2015-16 annual assessors report. Tom?
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, and the general public. Every year we do an annual report regarding the assessed values in the county. This is a report that was started by Arnie Fonts when he became assessor in 1970. It was a 5-page report. We expanded a little bit, now it's about 20 pages. Just as a point of reference, a lot of the bigger counties do this type of thing. Not too many smaller, mid-sized counties do this, so we feel it's some good information for the general public. I also have copies in the back for anybody who wants to look at any. Also, this will be available on our website as well. For 2015, this year, including secured, unsecured, and the utility roll, we've exceeded a milestone of $7 million in assessed valuation. What that equates to is about $70 million in property tax for the year, upcoming year. That's a $416 million increase overall this year in assessed value. That represents a 6.6 net increase overall in assessed valuation. And that's basically to the, due to the new construction and the rising values in the real estate market. Now, there's 4 categories of different types of properties. Residential increased the most, roughly at 7.7%. The ag properties, industrial properties were both up at about 5.7%, and commercial properties were at 3.7%. City of Hollister had a 7% increase overall in assessment growth, and San Juan had the biggest increase at 12.5%.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, please.
Sorry to interrupt, Tom. I'm not sure if I heard you correctly. It sounded like 7 million, but I want to be clear, it's 7 billion.
Did I say it's 7 billion?
It sounded like 7 million to me.
7 billion
I just want to
in assessed
clarify
value.
that for the public and the board.
No, it's 7 billion, and that's 70 million in
In
taxes.
property taxes,
Yes,
yeah.
that's correct. So one of the factors in the increase was Prop 8 valuations, and that's basically, we had a major downturn in the last 5 years with property values. And so starting in 2008, we looked at about 7,500 properties, and we reduced those property values. And we basically look at the Prop 13 value, and we compare the Prop 13 value to the fair market value, and we take the lower of the two. And we do that every year. And this year, we had approximately 3,600 properties under Prop 8 status. 800 of those came out of Prop 8 status, meaning they were restored back to their Prop 13 values. So we have a total of 2,800 properties left under Prop 8 valuation. From 2008 to 2012, we reduced roughly 7,200 properties, as I mentioned, and that's about 1.2 billion worth of value reduction for those particular properties. That equates to $12 million in property tax reductions for those years. Just a quick overview of the 58 counties. There were still 2 counties that had negative growth
and assessed valuation. Kern County had nearly a negative 9% growth, and that was due to the decline in petroleum assessments. And Del Norte County had nearly a 1% decrease in valuation. The 12 Bay Area counties, San Benito was ranked 7th overall in assessed valuation. Santa Clara was first at about 8.7. The top 2 counties in the state overall in growth, Placer, 9%, and then, as I mentioned, Santa Clara, number 2 at 8.7%. Overall, San Benito County was 10th in the state in overall percentage growth. Neighboring counties, Monterey and Santa Cruz, Monterey was about 6%. We were at 6.4%. I mean, Santa Cruz at 6.4%. We were at 6.6%. And that pretty much concludes the report. And I just want to commend my staff for doing an excellent job, and I just want to thank them for their hard work and dedication. So at this time, if you have any questions and comments.
Okay, any questions from the board? Comments? Supervisor Botello?
Well, yes, I just want to thank you for this report. This is a report that I look forward to most years. And lately, it is kind of indicative of the direction that our county is going in, and I read a lot into it. So I appreciate your staff's work on it and your work in presenting this to us. It's really important information.
Tom, thank you. Thank your staff. It is a lot of work that goes into it. I mean, this is just a compilation of all that was done throughout the year.
This is all the valuations as of January the 1st.
Yeah.
So.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
2 questions. Tom, first question is, when residents or owners were asking for a reassessed value, there's a trigger that you can reassess back to the current pricing. Are you done with that mechanism already?
No, as I mentioned, we were at the beginning of the year, we're at 3,600, we're down to 2,800 properties left. So
And then
we
I
look at
seen
those
that-
every year.
Okay, good. Then I see that there's a trend, almost, we're in that 7%, 7% trend. Is that something that, your staff has done a great job, or just that the economy now is beginning to stabilize?
I would say a combination of both.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. I do appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Tom, thank you so much, and we appreciate all the information you've given us.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, you might want to open it for the public as well.
Oh,
for
I
comment.
do. Thank you very much. Anybody from the public that would like to comment on this? All right. I don't think we need to make a motion, just accept, do we need to make a motion to accept the report? Okay, why don't we do that?
Motion to accept the report, Madam Chair.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. CEO Espinosa, item number 23.
Yeah, I'll hand that off to Barbara, counsel.
Okay. This contract is a legal service, proposed contract is a legal services agreement with Coda Coal LLP, and authorizes them to represent the county in an action against Richard Scagliotti to recover attorney's fees. Oops. That was occurred in the defense of the Pekin versus Scagliotti case that was been since concluded. In that litigation, counsel for San Benito County also represented Mr. Scagliotti. When a county defends an employee or an elected official, it is normally does so with a representation or reservation of rights, which means that the county can seek to return the attorney's fees expended if the conduct is determined outside eventually if it's determined through the court process that it's outside the county's indemnification and defense obligation, which normally means that the conduct is determined to be outside the course and scope of employment. In the previous litigation, over $580,000 was expended. This new litigation that will commence, the county is hopeful that it will recover all or at least part of the attorney's fees that were previously expended. And this allows Mr. Derek Cole to represent the county.
To recover
Yes.
some of those costs?
Yes.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board? I'll open it up to the public. Any comments or questions from the public? I'll bring it back for a decision.
make a motion to approve the legal services agreement with Coda and Cole, LLP.
There's a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the last item, item number 24, CAO.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is coming out of our Office of Emergency Services. We have Kevin O'Neill here to actually present this to your board. And the topic is going to be adopting the resolution, adopting the August 2015 update to the San Bernardino County Operations Area Emergency Operations Plan. So, Kevin?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. So this plan before you is an update to the 2012 plan that you adopted in December of 2012. The previous plan wasn't quite in line with a lot of the guidelines that we are required to follow. The California Emergency Services Act, Standardized Emergency Management System. This is a brand new plan, but has a lot of the same fundamentals in it. Nothing out of the box, nothing new that other counties aren't doing. The plan has been reviewed by the California Office of Emergency Services, some of our neighboring counties, as well as our local disaster council, and has been approved and supported by all. And I'm just asking the board to adopt it so we can go ahead and start making copies and distribute them to our county partners.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions or comments? I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Certainly, this is not a document you want to have on the shelf. I mean, emergencies don't happen, fortunately, every day, but how do you make sure that all the partners, all the employees, anybody that needs to know what the process is, that that procedure is documented, that they have read the manual, that they included, that has been met? How do you do that?
That's a very good point, because this plan is something that should be read and understood before there's an emergency. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up workshops multiple times, multiple dates, so that everybody can attend. We've already started trainings for people who staff the Emergency Operations Center, which is the main point of this plan, is setting up that structure. So the work and the foundation's already begun. And we're just going to continue that work as we distribute the new plan.
Okay, very good. That's good to know. Thank you so much. And we want to thank staff. I know it takes a lot to put, especially when you're starting a new doc, because you didn't use any of your old material.
Right.
And so it takes a lot of time. I want to thank everybody for their work.
I appreciate that.
Anybody from the public? Questions, comments on this item? There being none, I'll bring it back to the board for a decision.
Motion to accept, Madam Chair.
Okay, there's a motion. I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
hard work. All right, what we'll do is, it's already noon. We only have 2 items, and CAO
If I may.
Espinosa.
So we have legal counsel, our counsel here, Ellison Hawk. She is available. If it's possible, I'd like for her to get this taken care of, and then we can get her out, if that would be okay.
Well, I think the 2 items, and I'll ask Barbara, if they're not going to take long, we will
Shouldn't take that
not
long.
break for lunch and just finish
it
them
should-
up
it- yeah.
and be done with the meeting?
Yeah, it shouldn't take that long.
Okay, then go ahead and give us the info on those, and then we'll come back and report out and then break.
Okay.
And then go adjourn the meeting.
Item number 25 is closed session conference with labor negotiators. Agency designated representatives are Allison Hawk, Ray Espinoza, Joe Paul Gonzalez, Melinda Casillas, Georgia Cochran, and Steve Coffey. Employee organizations, institutions, associations, law enforcement, management employees group, SEIU Local 521, SEIU United Long-Term Care Workers 64634, Deputy Sheriff's Association, confidential management, department heads, and unrepresented employees pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The second item, number 26, is conference with real property negotiator. Property is identified as APN 051-110033 in Hollister. The agency negotiators are Alan Yamamoto, Brent Barnes, Joe Horwedel, Ray Espinoza, Joe Paul Gonzalez, Maria Sanchez, Barbara Thompson, Shirley Murphy. Negotiating parties are George Renz, Renz and Renz Real Estate Brokerage. Under negotiation is the price and terms of payment pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8.
Okay, we will adjourn to closed session and come back to report out.